Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you're ready for some action. I got some action going on my Facebook account, and I'm hoping that you do too. I want to be able to look at some Facebook results today. If you've got any activity, if you did a homework from the last couple of sessions, then your ad should be live. I want to just make sure that I've got everybody. I can see the screen over here, and I want to do a sound check on the screen as well to make sure everything's working okay. Awesome. Looks like it's working. And then let me know the chat roll is working. Let me know. Did you do your homework? Yes or no? Did you get ads running? That's the question of the day. Did you get your ads running? If you got your ads running, give me a huge thumbs up or a yes. And then let me know if you got any kind of results. If you didn't get your ads running, then you could say, Nate, I was busy. I'm sorry. It's okay. And there's also the little bit of the fear of the unknown when people start running ads. So I understand. I get it. I totally understand. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you as a little sneak peek what's been going on in my world for the last week with some ads. I decided I just moved to a new area myself. I moved from Wisconsin down to Florida. So I'm in Sarasota, Florida. And I decided that I wanted to make sure that I got up and running fast with the same thing that I'm teaching everybody. And I want to start getting deals here going fast. I still have deals going on in Milwaukee because that's where I've got a really good system and a good team. But I wanted to make sure that I got some deals going in Florida. And here's what I got. Here's what I got cooking. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to share screen, where you'll be able to see my full screen like this. And I'm going into the ads manager, okay? Remember, this is business.facebook.com to get here. And I'm going to record this session so you've got it as a recordable session later. And just a reminder, I'm going to do those silly clap things to start each session and the clap things to end each session. So then the video editor knows where to make cuts. So that way there, when you have this course for yourself to refresh yourself on components later, you don't have to watch a 2 or 3 hour video. You can watch a 10 to 15 minute video that's all labeled so you can find stuff much, much faster. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Ready, set, go. Okay, welcome to the inside of my ads manager account. This is what I did recently. I just literally put these up a few days ago, last Thursday or Friday anyways. And here's what I got cooking, okay? I am paying right now about on one form about $12.48 per lead, and that's pretty good. If I'm between $10 and $20 per lead, I'm trending in the right direction. If I can get this below $10, I'm ecstatic, but it's hard to do. This one right here, you can see here I'm paying about $32 a lead. You know, that's expensive, relatively speaking, but if I get deals from this and it's in a zip code that's really, really good, I'm okay with it. The other thing that I want you to note is that my ad spend is not very much right now. I kept a very low ad budget. Remember how we've always been preaching, start with like $5 to $15 per day until you get to know an area and you get to know how it performs. Well, I'm practicing what I preach. So far on this campaign, I've spent $62 over like 3 or 4 days, something like that. And this other one, I spent $64, and the other one, I spent $62. Okay, these other ones that you see down here, I didn't run those ones recently. These are from March even, but these ones right here, they're like real time. I just got done running these ones, so that's what you're seeing, what you see right there. So I'm going to highlight these 3, and I want to show you the actual ads. Okay, so next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open them up. And I want to show you what I've got inside my ad campaigns. Actually, it'll be better. It'll be easier for you to view it if I go to the ad sets level, and then eventually I'll go to the actual ads themselves. So at the ad set level, this is like the settings on the ads. You can see here, I've got a daily budget of $20, so I went up a little bit on mine. Okay, so I've got a daily budget of $20 in this specific ad, and other things to note is instead of age 35, I went to 36. I'm just testing and playing with this stuff right now. And I've got a really creative ad manager that I've got working with me on this right now. Him and I have been going through this together back and forth and checking stuff every single day, figuring out the best possible outcome for our clients that use ad management services. So we're playing with this kind of stuff, okay? We're still doing edit placements, although we're having a lot of conversations about using automatic placements, because automatic placements, Facebook will usually, they say that they'll make them more efficient, but I don't know yet. I don't know if I believe it yet or not. Okay, so that's one of the ads. The other one, this is 3 of 3. Let's see. It's because I have all 3 highlighted. If I unhighlight, then it should drop. Okay, this is my Port Charlotte ad. I'm running $20 a day. I'm doing age 36 to 65. Notice on this one, I did something slightly different. I did a pin drop. Okay, it's all the people who live in this location. That's one other thing to know too. Sometimes we forget to touch this box and you just put everyone in this location. It's a little bit different than people who live in this location. People who live in this location, they actually have a house there. Everyone in this location might mean that they're driving through. So we're going to skip some people. It's not a ton, but we'll skip some by doing a pin drop. Okay. Notice here that my reach is not very big. It's only 688 people up to 1,600 people. That's pretty small overall. If I can get like 2,000 plus, then I start to feel better about it. Otherwise, what happens when I'm on these small reaches is Facebook has to show your ad so many more times to the same people, and they charge you more for it. It usually doesn't convert quite as well. So that's one downfall about my area. If you're in a bigger market like a Dallas, a Houston, a Minneapolis, San Francisco, etc., you're going to get a much bigger reach per zip code. But I did pin drop on this particular one, and you can actually draw the pin on the map when you're creating the ad. So it's pretty cool. I still did edit placements. All that stuff is the same. And then where you'll see the most is on our ad itself. Pop this up so we can preview it. Okay, here's the preview. This is the ad that I'm running right now. I need to buy a few properties this month in Port Charlotte. It's my favorite place. I didn't do zip code itself because I did a pin drop around Port Charlotte. I love it so much I'm willing to pay you more, okay, than a typical real estate investor. Click quote to see how much I would pay. The only variation I did is instead of using the real bandit sign, is I made a digital bandit sign, so to speak. So it's a little bit more fluorescent yellow, and it's popping on the image a little bit better. I've got one of our other students that went through the course that he made a sign like this, and then he also put, it's his wife's name, it's Ruth buys houses. He also put her image on top, so it's a little picture of her, and that was a way to catch more attention. You're limited in the amount of text you can have on an image ad, so you have to be careful. You can't like go all out and make the whole thing text. Facebook will reject it. But you could put a picture, you could put a heart, you could put images, things like that on top of this to make your sign pop a little bit more. This sign's popping pretty good though, okay? So that's the campaign that's being run inside of Facebook. And now what I want to do is I want to switch over so you can actually see the real results for it. Well, I'll go back here to the campaign level so you can see the results. So from $62 in ad spend, I got 5 leads off this first one, this Port Charlotte one. That's really good. I'm happy with that. Like if I'm between that $10 and $20, I'm good with it. If I get it below 10, I'm doing something really, really good that I got to keep doing more of that. Okay, so I got 5 leads off of that one. The next one, I've got $64 into it in just a few days, and I got 2 leads off of it. It's so-so. I'm okay with it. This is pretty good zip code, pretty good area. It's actually a pin drop on that one. And then this last one, Sarasota, I've spent $62, and I'm currently at two leads from it. I was getting worried on this one. I only had 1 lead, and I was spent like 50 or $60 on it. And then all of a sudden, the second lead popped, and I'm like, good. So it made my lead cost about $32 a lead or so, and I'm happy with that. I'm content with it, especially since one of the leads that came from this one is a very interesting deal, and I'll show it to you in the next segments. Okay, but overall, like I'm happy with this campaign. One thing that I've learned now over time, actually one of our students taught me this. He just paid attention to his ad spend really close, and he noticed that he got the best results if he turned the ads on Friday afternoon and then he turned them off again Monday around noon. So basically people over the weekend and then Monday morning, he'd pick those people up and then he'd get enough leads off of those that he got so many leads. He told me that he got so many leads, he had to shut the system off. That's how he kind of accidentally found it. But then he figured out that it's actually a good strategy because during the week, Monday through Friday, he wasn't getting the same number of leads. He was still spending the same amount of money to do the impressions on Facebook to get in front of people, but the majority of his leads, actual submissions, came on the weekends. So it's a good nugget for you. So I'm practicing that right now too with these 3 campaigns. I turn my ads off right after the weekend, basically, and now I'm going until the next weekend. The next weekend I'll turn them back on. So Friday afternoon, turn them back on, and I'll let them rip all weekend, and then I'll turn them off Monday. I'm just experimenting with that. Now, in the past, I always just ran them straight through, and I got enough leads to justify it, so it made sense to me. But I'm experimenting with this. I'm looking for the optimum. See, we have a lot of clients that we do ad management for, and with them, we want to produce the best results. So I'm working with one of our guys on our team to really perfect the system to get the best results possible. And of course, I'm going to keep sharing it with you as I go. Okay. So I want to show you some of the leads that came in, but I'm going to show you in the next segment. Okay. Now I'm going to click over and I want to show you this. Lucinda, you're on right now. Awesome. Right now, my leads are averaging about $20. Kind of painful. You'll probably hear me answer that in just a second, Lucinda, but it's not bad. Not bad at all. Okay. So keep with it. I like 20. If I can be closer to 10, I'm ecstatic, but I'll take 20, $10 to $20 range, especially if it's a good zip code. If it's a zip code you like, I even pay 30, 40, $50 sometimes for those leads if it's a really good zip code. Okay. All right. Let me jump into this next section here. Okay. Welcome back. We are inside of my Pipedrive account. I've customized this a little bit. It's an incredible platform. You know what I'll do is I'll include a link either sent to you by email or down below this video so that you can access this too and you can get a similar setup to what I have. But I have Facebook Zap through Zapier.com all the leads to Pipedrive. So I get the leads. They look like this. It says new lead Port Charlotte or new lead Sarasota, new lead Bradenton. And they come in, and then it's my job to open them, and then I take them through literally step by step on this pipeline. Okay, so my pipeline set up where I get the lead in, then immediately I have to make contact with the person and do an electronic evaluation, meaning I'm going to look up values of properties and all that kind of stuff. And then I'm going to schedule an on-site. You can see here like Jerry, he's scheduled for an on-site with me. Awesome. Okay. And then the next one right here in the pipeline is the actual inspection on-site. The next one is getting a contract signed. So this is literally going in the sequence in which I want to move these properties through my system. Okay. Your system might be a little bit different than mine, but this is how I visually and mentally, like physically, this is how I do things. So visually, it's how I think. I want to think the same way that I'm going to physically do it. Okay. The thing that I like about Pipedrive is that like it's visual. Everything's there. I don't miss any leads. I can set timers on them, all kinds of cool stuff. And I can run a bunch of reports off of them and things like that. So that's why I'm having all of my leads zapped into Pipedrive. Okay. And then what's really cool is like when I do one of these steps, if let's just say here like Melody, I just made contact with her. I literally just drag it. Boom. Well, let's just say that I did the on-site inspection with her. I drag it. And then I drag it. I schedule the on-site. Then I do the on-site. I get a signed contract with her. I post it for sale. We're going to learn about posting for sale in a different segment of this training. Buyer goes out and inspects it. Buyer signs contract. So we send a contract to the buyer. We're going to talk about those in a different training section too. Contract gets signed. And then what happens next is that the earnest money goes from the buyer to the title company. And then what happens next is the seller has to sign the closing docs. Then the buyer has to sign the closing docs. And then the deal funds and it's closed. Then at that point, I drag it down here to the bottom where it says deal 1. Okay, I drop it in there, and then boom, like I'm a very happy person. So I didn't want that one to actually go all the way to the end. So I pushed it back over into here into this lead in pile. Okay. So this is how I use Pipedrive. I love it. As I said, I'll include a link for you if you want to click on that one. It is an affiliate link, so they'll pay me something if you end up going through mine. If you don't want me to get paid anything, that's totally cool. You just go to pipedrive.com. I think if you use mine, you can get my template, or at least I can walk you through it. So if we jump on a call, then I can show you this. So it's pretty this setup, this flow. If nothing else, take this video and just pause it as you're creating your pipeline. Whether you use this CRM or a different one, this flow seems to work really, really well. And it's helped me. I used to just kind of do it in my head, okay, get a contract with the seller. And then I'd go out and find a buyer, get a contract with I would just kind of do it in my head and try to remember everything. But what happens when you go to scale, meaning you start doing 3 of these per month, and then you get to 5 per month, and then you get to 15 per month. When you're at that level, you forget things. And if you forget a step, then the deal could fall apart. And I don't want you to have a deal fall apart. So I'd rather have you have a good system for it. And this helps me and my team with the system. My assistant's also able, she's a virtual assistant, she's also able to be in here every day and log stuff so I can see what she's doing. She's making contacts, she's following up with people. And then when I have status calls with her, we can go through everything and we know exactly what's happening with each and every lead going through the system. Something else I'll point out on this is I don't move a lot of stuff off the lead in until it's actually someone that we make contact with and someone that we're scheduling on-site with. I'm going to leave them over here until I hear, because sometimes someone will submit on Facebook and then for whatever reason, they don't answer your phone call when you call them back. And I'm going to keep following up with them until I hear from them that they sold to somebody else or something else happened. They decide, I'm going to hear a no from them before I'm going to give up. I'm going to leave them over in the lead-in column, and I'm going to keep trying them. My virtual assistant tries them twice a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. The next thing that I have her doing is I have her sending out a mailer to each one too, a mailer with a magnetic business card in it that says my phone number and information on it, because I want each of these leads, every single one of them, to know our name and know that we're here to help them. Because what happens is that folks on Facebook and any other kind of situation where people are selling semi-distressed is that they'll have some pain and then they'll want to talk. But then if you don't catch them right at that moment, then they might disappear for a week or 2 or 3. And then that pain will come back whenever something happens in their life. So for example, a real life story, I had somebody reach out to us that wanted to sell. We spoke the first time, and then we were trying to get out there to do the on-site and whatnot, and we were calling back to schedule that, and for whatever reason, she didn't answer, went totally silent. And then all of a sudden, she got some kind of notice in the mail that the city taxes were going to foreclose on her property. She was going to lose the property to city taxes. And then she called us, boom, right then and there. And then she wanted to make a deal. And then she ended up selling it to us that fast. But sometimes you just don't know when people will have those situations in life where they need your help, but you got to be there for them when they're ready, as soon as they're ready. So we try on our team to always call them back within 15 minutes of submitting a lead to us or submitting their information to us. If we can't, then we're going to keep following up. We'll follow up twice a day. For me, especially if I run these ads on the weekends and I turn them off during the week, we'll call these people. We'll get a hold of most of them during the week and schedule on-sites. Okay. I've got an on-site scheduled for this gentleman. This is an interesting one. So on this one, I paid a lot for this lead. The lead was up to 40 or 50 bucks, maybe even $60 before anything came through. I got one lead, but the zip code is so worth it. So what I want to show you is the actual valuation of this property. Let's see. I put it into over here. Make sure I'm grabbing the right lead file. Okay, I actually have this one coded twice. So I'll pull up the property. Check this out. This is a $1.4 million property. $1.4 million property, okay? I wasn't expecting that, but the zip code that I'm marketing into is a pretty expensive zip code. It's on the waterfront. It's made for yachts, basically, big boat parking, all that kind of stuff. I called back the seller right away, spoke to him, captured all of this information, looked the property up in a few different spots. So the other spot that I like to look these up is PropStream, which you've seen me do in different parts of the training. But look it up on PropStream. It's going to pull up all the data for me. I'll get the details. I'll download the comparable sales reports, et cetera, et cetera. PropStream also thinks it's worth pretty good. Zillow is like 1.4, PropStream's 1.2. The mortgage balance is saying it's only $300,000, $279. Woo, that's smoking. Think about this. The property is valued above $1 million, and the mortgage is only 30% of the value. That's according to PropStream. Now, PropStream, they take first mortgages very seriously, but second mortgages, it's hard for them to know if it got recorded because they record, you can go into their details, but they record what happens when the person purchased it, and usually there's a mortgage recorded at that. But if a seller takes out a second mortgage on the property, like a home equity line of credit or something like that, it's harder for them to capture that. That's why we go back to our script. And remember, in our script, we've got a very, very important question in here that's set up in strategic order so that you don't miss it. But we ask the question, we say, hey, when we make purchases, we want to make sure we pay off all the debts on the property. Are there any amounts owed to contractors? If yes, how much? Okay, great. Is there anything owed on taxes? If yes, how much? Okay. And the next one is, how much is owed on the mortgage? Okay, great. Okay. When you get that, if you ask him in this order, then the seller usually opens up. If you don't ask it like this, then I've had sellers where if I botch this part, then they'll be like, well, why do you want to know how much my mortgage is? That's private. And you don't want that. Instead, what happened with this one, with this particular seller, he told me, like, straight up, okay, this is the PropStream amount. But then I've got my notes. Oh, I forgot to write it in here. But I ended up talking to him, and I forgot to write it in here. But he told me on the phone that the mortgage he's got two, so PropStream got this one here, but the other mortgage is around $300,000. So there's still substantial equity in this property, substantial, okay? So I'm very excited. Even though I'm paying a lot for this lead, 50, 60 bucks, whatever it was, I'm excited. I've got an on-site appointment for this particular seller on Wednesday. I'm going to be there. I'm going to smile. I'm going to show him what we can do for him. And hopefully we'll get a signed deal out of it. Okay. So I'm excited. One lead, this could literally be a six-figure deal. I'll keep you posted once I get a little closer to it, as long as I can provide a lot of value to the seller. I've got to be able to help the seller sell their property and provide immense value, just like you can on every single equation with your sellers too. Okay. The seller even told me, he's like, because this is a pretty savvy seller because it's a high-end house. The seller even told me, he's like, I understand your business. I totally get it. He's like, I know you need to make a profit. I know you're not going to do this for free. It's like, but I'm looking for quick cash. If you guys can help me out with quick cash, then we might be able to do something. I said, okay, great. Fantastic. I tried to get the on-site appointment right away, but he's actually tied up. He travels, he brokers yachts. So he's does a lot of really big things. Okay. Okay. In here, let me show you couple more things. Okay, when you get a lead in, let's look at this one, for example. This one here leads in. I want to show you the customized fields that I put in here. Okay, you have to type these out. If you get the copy from me, then it might be able to like autofill this stuff. But you type these things out. Like I've got the Zillow value. I got the address, obviously. I've got the Zillow value. I've got the Zillow link. Zillow is not like the holy grail, but I like to be able to reference it at least. So yeah, okay. I've got the PropStream equity. So this is how much does PropStream think that the house has in equity? So this one's saying that there's no mortgage on this property. If that's true, I'm really excited. Now the person might have gone out and taken out a home equity line of credit or something that PropStream doesn't know about. But if this is true and there's really no mortgage on the property, this could be a really good lead, okay? So, and then the next thing that I do is I do a comparable sales report. So PropStream, you can run comps inside of, and then what I do is I turn it into a PDF, and then I put it in I host it somewhere online. So this happens to be in my Google Drive account. And then I've got the comps. Now, why do I want these comps? Because when I go out for my on-site, I want to be able to have these. I want to be able to have an intelligent conversation. I'm totally comfortable with the seller putting all cards on the table. I don't have anything to hide. If they ask me if I'm trying to make a profit, I will tell them, yes, I'm in business for profit. I do good things with my profit, but I'm in business for profit. There's no way I could do this for free. You know, just to bring money to the table to buy your house like this, there's a cost for that. I have to borrow it. So of course I do need to make a profit if I'm going to help you out. But I'm still probably the most equipped person to help you. I'm one of very few people that can pull off quick cash in this kind of response time. Notice how you found me and notice how fast I got to your table. Like there's a line in which you'd follow basically to have that conversation with them. Okay. And then notice on here too, this is not she's my virtual assistant. No answer, left voicemail and text, didn't answer, called her, no answer. So my virtual assistant's been trying to call her, but she hasn't answered yet. So I'm going to figure out, I'll probably do one phone call myself to get in touch with her too. We'll make sure that we can get to this person and try to help them. So that's what I wanted to show you inside of Pipedrive. This is pretty cool stuff, right? You can also connect it to your email. You can just sync it to your email. I don't have mine synced to my email. You can sync it to your calendar. I do have mine synced to my calendar. You can sync your contacts. You can sync your progress. You can look at a bunch of reports, all that kind of stuff. But the most important feature, whether you use this one or you create your own, you do it on a spreadsheet or whatever you do, just make sure that you got a visual sequence of events so that you can manage your leads and take them through your system. Don't let anybody fall through your system. Like there is so much gold in the follow-up on these people. If you just let them come in and then you don't follow up with them until you get them on the phone, you shouldn't do Facebook ads altogether. I'll just be blunt. You shouldn't, because you lose money. These people, like I spent, how much did we say I spent? Let's see. I spent, what's 6 times 380? Let's say I spent $200 over the weekend running those. And out of that, I got 7, 8, 9 leads. So I got 9 leads out of it. I'm probably running like $20 a lead, 22 bucks a lead, something like that, $20 a lead roughly. That's $20 per lead. If I pull one deal out of that, I am ecstatic. I've only spent $200, like I'm ecstatic. I probably need to spend up to $1,000 to pull a deal, but I've done it. I've had a lot of good months where I've been able to do deals for $500 per deal, basically. But I'm trending in the right direction with this. So I wanted to show you this so that you have hope and you understand how to use this Pipedrive system right here. Okay? All right, I'll see you in the next video section. Okay, guys, I hope that made sense. Lucinda had a couple more questions. She's saying, kind of a basic question, but when we make cash offers, how often can we get our hands on the cash to follow up with the offer? Is it by assigning to a cash investor, or do we need to get our hands on cash ourselves? And then the next question is, and we're going to answer that in today's training, so we will totally cover that. And then the next question is it assigning to a cash investor? Do we need to get our hands up? Yep, got that. Is there a preferred definition of zip codes to target, age, income, etc.? Okay, I'll answer that one right now. Is there a preferred definition of zip codes to target, age, income, targets, etc.? So Lucinda, age, I'm usually going like 35 to 65. I'm playing right now with 36 for whatever reason. I was getting a different reach. So yeah, 35 to 65 kind of range. Income, I don't mess with the income at all. I just go for area. I want to go where I feel comfortable doing deals. So I'll either do the zip codes where I like buying houses, or I'll do a pin drop where I like buying houses. So that's my philosophy with that. So no income targets at all. Nope. And then if you go back to the ad creation video, you'll see in there like the step-by-step how I created each of my ads. Today's I just did kind of a high level, but in session number 2, I did a step-by-step on how you can actually create those ads. Okay, let's jump back to it, okay? So I showed you my Facebook results. I just wanted you to see that. Good. Now we're going to get into the art of wholesaling, how to structure these, how to come up with money for deals. Okay. Okay. Let's come over here to my friend Webinar Jam. And we're going to turn the whiteboard on. Okay. You should see the whiteboard. Yep, okay, whiteboard's on. Okay, so in A to B to C deal, A to B to C. Remember, A is a seller, not just any seller, but a motivated seller. B is us. We are the folks that are connecting everybody and getting paid to bring these deals forward. Now, I know some people taking this training, you are your own buyer. You are going to keep the properties. Awesome, great. Either whether you're a landlord or you're going to buy it, fix it, and sell it. Totally cool. But I want to map this out for anyone that's planning to do dispositions or sales to an end buyer as well. Okay, so A to B to C. C is a cash buyer. Okay, B is you. Okay, this is us in the middle. Now, there are a few different ways that we covered. Oh, you know what? I got to record this. So let me back up, okay? Okay, welcome to the art of wholesaling. We are going to cover basically how we can move properties through our system, A to B to C. A being a motivated seller, B being us, C being a cash buyer. And what we want to do is we want to cover basically how we can do this in the right, proper, legal, and ethical ways that we can do this. Okay, so the very first method that we have in which we can do this is we can do something called bird dogging. Okay, what is bird dogging? Well, bird dogging literally, and I'll write it right here, bird dog. Okay, bird dogging literally, if you think of a hunter's assistant, like a hunter's dog that goes out into the woods and chases up whatever kind of game the hunter is hunting, so birds typically, that's bird dogging in the hunting world. Bird dogging in real estate is similar. A bird dog is someone that goes out and finds deals, brings them to somebody else, and gets paid for finding information about deals. Bird dogs don't typically put houses under contract. They don't feel comfortable for whatever reason putting them under contract, etc. But there's a lot of really good people out there who love bird dogging, and they just want to get paid something small for finding information about houses. I recommend that everybody gets bird dogs. Bird dogs are easiest to find at your local real estate investment club, particularly people that are newer to real estate investing. Usually they're looking for a chance to get a mentorship with someone like you. And the way that you can work it is that they bird dog for you and you'll let them sit along your side as you go and execute the deal. Okay, so maybe they find a motivated seller. Maybe they find a cash buyer to connect to a deal, whatever it might be, but bird dogging is them finding deals, okay? Now, there are a couple of rules with bird dogging that you don't want your C person, your end buyer, to end up, let's just say that you're bird dogging, okay? I want to keep it a simple version. Let's say you're bird dogging and you're bringing a deal to a buyer. You want to make sure you get paid, okay? Or if someone else is a bird dog and they come to you and they're like, well, how do I know I'm going to get paid? Here's what I do and what I use. I use something called a non-circumvent contract. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that up for you so that you can actually see what a non-circumvent contract looks like. Okay, go back over here. We'll do a good old-fashioned share screen. Okay, Now, this is the non-circumvent contract that I use. You can certainly connect with your attorney to get whatever version they use. This is included. You'll either find this as a email link that's sent to you, or it will come as a link that's below the video, and you can download it, okay? It's in PDF, but you could still, if you wanted to turn it into a Word document, you can use an online converter to do that. I don't have the Word version. I think I got this from somebody else. That's why I've always used it in PDF. It's pretty self-explanatory. It simply says, hey, all of us parties are coming together. So an A to B to C type deal that's coming together like this. We're all coming together, and we all want to get along and make sure that everybody gets paid, and we want to make sure that nobody cuts anybody out. So I use this non-circumvent agreement, okay? You can read through, it's probably a more in depth than it needs to be, but it says like trade secrets and all that kind of stuff. So it's probably a little more in depth than it needs to be, but this is a non-circumvention agreement, totally drafted by an attorney. I got this from somebody else who paid his attorney to draw it up. So it's my gift to you as a gift from a friend, okay? We're gonna get into some other contracts that are much more expensive that in another section of the training as well. Okay, so just making sure that we covered the bird dogging thing. Okay, yes. Okay, cool. Let's do this. I'm going to end the share screen. Okay, we're going to go into the next section, and I'm just going to break these up so that these are smaller videos for you to watch in replay later or to train your assistant later, okay? So the next section that we're going to cover is our assignment of contract. Okay. Okay, welcome back. We are going to get into assignment of contracts. So what an assignment of contract is, it works like this. Assignment of contracts, we're taking a deal from A to B to C, but we're not going to close on it, okay, in the middle. We're not going to be the buyer and actually bring money to the table. We're going to go straight from A to C with our deal. Now, I know you might be saying, well, Nate, hold on a second here. Then how do I get paid, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to have a contract between A and B called a purchase agreement, okay, or purchase contract, depending on what state you're in. Some people call it a purchase agreement. Some people call it a purchase contract. Okay, we're going to have that locked up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have another contract between B and C called an assignment of contract. Okay, what the assignment of contract is, and we're going to go through both of these in a moment, but what the assignment of contract is literally it's you as this B person giving your rights to the entire contract to your C person, your cash buyer, so to speak. Okay, so that's what an assignment of contract is. So if you put in the contract that you're buying it for $50,000 on December 19th, and you're putting up $1,000 earnest money, then your buyer is going to assume the same terms that you wrote in that contract. Okay, so you got to be careful with this. You want to make sure that you don't like give up your earnest money. If you put down $1 earnest money, then make sure your end buyer puts down $1 earnest money that should go to you, because otherwise you'll lose your $1 earnest money. You'll end up transferring it to the end buyer. Okay, so these types of transactions are really, really cool. Very, very easy to do. Now, let me show you why these are really important. Okay, I did an A to B to B to C deal. What the heck is that? You might be thinking, like, what the heck is that? Went like this. Okay, from an REI club, I got a phone call one day from a lady named Kathy who said, hey, Nate, I heard you at the REI club that you're looking for deals. I got a deal. I think it's interesting. You should probably come check it out. And I said, well, tell me about the deal. And she's like, well, it's on Western Avenue in St. Paul, Minnesota. Here's the approximate rehab. She was telling me all the stuff that she knew about it. And I said, oh, I know that area. It's right next to this little place called A.W. Frost, which I had been to for dinners with a friend. And like, I knew the area really well. It's a really good part of town. I'm like, yeah, let's go. When can we meet? And we ended up going there the next morning. Actually, it was the same day. We ended up going the same day. I walked the property and I walked out of the property and I'm like, I'll take it. I shook her hand. I said, I really want it. I'll take it, but could you do any better on the price? And she said, yeah, for you, I'll drop it by $7,000. I'm like, okay, great. Yeah, deal. We got it. I shook hands. I said, you got any kind of contract, purchase agreement? And then she said, yeah, I'll get it emailed to you and we'll do the assignment of contract and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So what happened is this. She had this deal locked up for $93,000. Okay. She was trying to sell it to me for $107. Okay. That was her first offer to me, $107. And then I asked her one question. I said, hey, could you do any better on the price? And she said, yes, for you, Nate, I'll do $100,000. Okay. I asked one question. How much money did I make? $7,000, right? Okay. One simple question. I didn't beat her up. I'm not that kind of person. Like I'm fair. I knew it was still a good deal. So I would have even taken it at 107, but she offered out 100, and then she ended up making $7,000 like on this. Okay. The form in which she had it under contract was called a purchase agreement. Okay. Or purchase contract. Then to bring the deal to me, she did an assignment of contract. Okay. Pretty cool. Now I went home. I was thinking about it. I gave her the earnest money. The earnest money was small. It was like $1,000 or something. I didn't give it to her. I gave it to the title company. And then I was thinking about it and I'm like, that's a really good property. Like I could fix and flip this thing. I could turn it into a rental. I got to close on it here in a couple of weeks. Or I wonder if I have any buyers that might buy this thing from me. So I thought about it for like all of 2 minutes and I'm like, you know what? I think I do. I called one buyer and I said, hey, I've got this property. It's on Western Avenue. It's over by A.W. Frost. It's 227 Western. I still remember. It was a great little property. And I told him all about it because I just walked the property, so I knew it pretty well. I took a bunch of photos, and I said, I can email you the photos. He said, well, when can I get into it? And I said, tomorrow. He's like, okay, great. How much does it cost? And I told him 126. Okay. How did I come to this number? I put it into my deal evaluator. Remember, in a different part of the training, we went through deal evaluators, and I literally figured out what would be a good deal for the next buyer. And I knew that this house was worth somewhere around 275 to 300. I didn't know exactly where, but somewhere in that range. Okay. So for me, it needed a big rehab. It needed to be completely redone. 3-bedroom, 3-bath. One of those old like kind of row houses. So historic neighborhood. It needed a lot of rehab. Windows. I don't know if it needed a roof or not, but needed a big rehab. So me getting it for 100, I knew it was a good deal. Him getting it for 126, I also knew was a good deal. He went to the property and literally right after he walked out of the property, I didn't meet him there. I just had a lockbox code. I gave him the lockbox code. He walked through. Right after he walked out, he called me and said, I'll take it. Okay. So now what I did to connect myself to him, I could have reassigned the contract. I could have done another assignment of contract, but I chose not to for one simple reason. I have a rule with this I want to teach you. Okay. My rule with this is that if I'm going to make more than $10,000 on a transaction, sometimes either the seller, so remember this person down here, seller, or this person over here, buyer, it's really hard to write with your mouse, just so you know. Okay, sometimes what happens if either of the two parties see that you're making what in their mind is a lot of money, and making more than 10 grand, that's pretty good on a wholesale deal. That's a good deal. If I make those all day long, that's great. Do a couple of those in a month, you're a happy person, right? Do 10 of those in a month and you're starting to cook. So if I'm going to make more than 10, like I don't want the deal to go upside down based on someone else saying, well, hold on a second here, you're making all this money. And then, because what happens on an assignment of contract is that everything's open book. Literally, the seller gets to see the settlement statement. The buyer gets to see the settlement statements. And everybody gets to see how much everybody's making. So if the seller shows up at closing and sees that, look, your wholesaler here in the middle, this is Kathy, she's making 7 grand. And then sees that you're here in the middle as well, and you're making 26 grand. And let's just say that the seller is only walking away with like, I don't know, $10,000 after the mortgage or something like that. They could get very greedy very fast. I've seen it before. Okay. I haven't had my personal closings fall apart over this from the seller side, but I have had on the buyer side, I've had the buyer see this and then try to come back and renegotiate with me at the closing table or the day before closing. And I just don't want that to happen to you. So what we want to do when we're making more than $10,000, instead of doing an assignment of contract, I pull out a purchase agreement or a purchase contract, and I link myself to the end buyer by purchase contract, or it's also known as a double close. Okay, I know in some states, the double close, you have to bring your own cash to the table, but it's really easy to borrow that money for one day to fund this transaction. I mean, look at this conversation. If I called even someone that doesn't do professional lending and I said, hey, could you make me a $93,000 loan? Because that's how much this is. A $93,000 loan for one day, and I'll pay you $1,000 just for using your money for one day. And by the way, it's going to a title company. It's not going to me. It'll be sitting at the title company the whole time. It's not going to go to anybody else. It will literally come into the title company and it will go back to you. Plus, you'll get your $1,000. Could you do that deal for me? And then when they figure out how much interest they're making on one day, like that's a no-brainer deal. In fact, I would do those deals for a lot of people. That's a really, really good deal. Okay, so that's that. And then so on this deal, Kathy was able to make 7. I was able to make 26. But the story's not over yet. Okay, so this end buyer, his name's Chuck. Chuck, after he closed on it, he called me and he said something like, thank you so much. That was a really good deal. I'm very, very happy with it. And I'm like, okay, great. And I said, so what are you going to do with it? He's like, well, I'm going to fix it and sell it. And I'm like, okay, great. And I said, well, what are you going to sell it for? He's like, well, that's where I think you made a big mistake. And I'm like, what do you mean I made a big mistake? He's like, well, I know that you were thinking it's worth around like 275, but I ran all the comps. And I had several realtors run comps on this thing. And this one's worth about 350, we think. I'm like, really? I'm like, awesome. You know what? I hope you knock it out of the park. I hope you hit a home run, and just remember the guy that brought you that deal, because I got more. He's like, okay, I will. Well, fast forward about 6 months or so, sure enough, he did sell it. He didn't sell it for 350. He sold it for around 320. But he said to me that that's the single best, and even to this day, it's the single best flip he's ever done, was off of this deal. So we got to help a seller. This seller, like, this cash went to them. They were really happy. We got to help another wholesaler, someone else like us. We got to make pretty good money on this thing, and our buyer got to make a lot of money on this thing. Like, this was a win-win-win all the way around. So in this section here, you got to see the mechanics of the assignment of contract, and you got to see the mechanics of the purchase agreement. So what I want to do now is I want to show you the actual contracts and give you a quick walkthrough, okay? So I'm going to flip over to my contracts tab. And you know what? Why don't I end this video, and I'm going to show you in the next video the actual contracts. Okay, cool. Let me show you the contracts now. So I'll go back to share screen, entire screen. Okay. Turn the whiteboard off. Go into contracts. Okay, welcome back to the contract section. I want to show you a purchase agreement. The purchase agreement that I use most frequently, because I've spent a lot of time and did a lot of deals there, is Wisconsin. Now, if you're in a different state, you got to get your own state purchase agreement. You can either get them from a realtor, an attorney, or the internet. Okay. When I first started this business, I pretty much got everything off of the internet for free. Now, fast forward with some time, I usually get them from an attorney, not even a realtor, because I find that the attorney purchase agreements, they usually have a little bit more protections built in for me and less fluff. Like I find with the real estate purchase agreements, they have so many addendums and so many different things, but the attorney ones, I just personally like them, okay? The one that I'm actually gonna run through with you right now happens to be a realtor one because it's way more common. And I'm only going to be talking about this purchase agreement here from a perspective of what are key clauses to make sure you know what to write. And but ultimately, what you're going to want to do is check with your attorney on all this stuff. Okay. So I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to pretend to be an attorney at all. I recommend everyone gets a real estate attorney to go through and do real estate contracts for you. Okay. To this day, even though I know I've signed thousands of contracts, to this day, I still have a real estate attorney. I still have that person go through stuff. They take a look at contracts. They make sure that we're doing them the right way, all that kind of stuff. Even though my assistant will fill most of them out, the attorney still goes through them. Okay. So I recommend everybody has a real estate attorney. Okay. So what do you write on these contracts? Well, typically you're going to write the address right up front. You're going to write who's buying the property, and you're going to write the purchase price in the earnest money. Okay. Purchase price is whatever you'd negotiate with the seller. The earnest money is whatever you negotiate with the seller. I typically write $1 on mine. And I know that that might seem far-fetched, but when you're dealing without agents in the middle and you're dealing directly with the seller, it's much easier to obtain. Okay. So I write $1 on mine. Okay. And then if I get pushback, then if they're like, well, my neighbor told me that I'm supposed to get $1,000. Then I say, well, at the end of the day, this goes to the title company and it sits in escrow. So it doesn't really matter if it's $1 or if it's $1,000 that sits in escrow. It doesn't go to you at all. So you're closing in 2 weeks. Do you just want to get the full check in 2 weeks? And then I let them ask that question. If they still are pushing, then I'll simply say, hey, our company policy is that we'll do a maximum of $500 to the title company. So I can do that if that's would make you feel better. Yeah, okay, great. I'll do $500. Okay. The reason I don't do a bunch of earnest money is that when you start doing a lot of deals, it takes a toll on your bank account. Like if you're putting out big earnest money checks. So I prefer $1 and just keep it at that. Okay. Acceptance. Usually there's dates, like they'll really pound dates. When is earnest money due? When is the offer accepted? All that kind of stuff. So you'll work through that based on your state purchase agreement, whatever the dates are that you're using. I usually like to offer to close within 30 days. Now, if the seller wants to close sooner and I can make that timeline, I'll definitely do it, because a lot of times sellers come to us because of the timeline in which we can close on the property. Okay. And I'm just going to make sure that we got screen share working properly. And you know what? The screen share wasn't working properly. So there, we got screen share back on. Okay. And then back to that contract, which is over here. Just hitting the highlights here. Okay. First and foremost, we want to make sure that we're using the right purchase agreement. And it looks like okay. Next part, I want to make sure that I hit all of the highlights that are super important. We got earnest money, we got purchase price, we got 30-day offers. Okay, that's what I do on my purchase agreements. Okay. This occupancy section, I don't really change much on that at all. Let me get down to the good stuff where I change stuff. Closing, like I said, 30 days or less is when I like to close on my properties. I just want to make sure that this is really, this is recording for folks. Maybe when I have the whiteboard on, it messes with the system. That's what I think happens. So there. Now, if I turn the whiteboard off, now the contract will become visible. All right. Thank you for bearing with me on that. Okay, so I'm going to clap again, and then we'll get this as the start of this section. So then when you're watching a replay later, it will make more sense, okay? Okay, welcome to the purchase agreement. Let's run through the highlights of the purchase agreement. At the end of the day, you want to have a real estate attorney go through this with you, and a real estate attorney act on your behalf to facilitate these contracts. Once I got good with contracts, then what I've done now in our system is that my assistant fills out the contract that our attorney provided us, and then we do reviews, attorney review. So the attorney will just take a glance at it rather than drafting it for us. Whatever works in your system, I just find that, like, I know that there's an expense of the attorney, but the expense of the attorney is worth it. And I deduct it from each deal that I do. So for example, if my attorney review time is a half hour, which costs us $200, then it's $200 I take out of the wholesale deal. If I'm making 10 grand on the wholesale deal and I put aside $200 of that, 2%, then I'm okay with that. So that's how I do it. Okay. So first section up here, this is all about purchase price, who's buying it, and then the property address. Okay, that's pretty standard on almost every single state purchase agreement. Which property are we talking about? Who's buying it? What's the purchase price? The next section is the earnest money. I do $1 earnest money on all of my transactions. I know that that can seem far-fetched, but I literally, when I write it in there, most sellers don't say a word. I write in $1 and I just keep on going. If they happen to stop me and they're like, hey, I'm supposed to get 1,000 or I'm supposed to get more, then I say, well, ultimately 100% of it goes to the title company, doesn't go to you, and we're closing in 2 weeks. How about I just make sure I get you a cashier's check for the full balance in 2 weeks? And then usually that helps them. If they're really stuck on it, then I'll say, okay, look, our company policy is a maximum of $500, which 100% of that goes to the title company, so I can get you that. Then they're like, okay, I'll take that. And it's company policy. It's not my policy, but it's company policy, even though it might be your policy, but I make it sound bigger so that they can't try to bend that on me, okay? Next section that I find to be important, I'm gonna skip over like the standard jargon that's not editable, and then I'll go down to closing. I try to close everything in about 30 days. Now, if the seller wants to close sooner and I can make it happen, then I'll certainly accommodate and I'll write that in, because half the time sellers come to us for a fast closing. If they need longer, I'll give them longer. If they need 6 months, that's fine. I'll put it on the docket. I'll work at my best possible pace to get them to pre-sign all the documents so then that they don't have to like think about it. And I'll wait for them on their timeline, okay? Next section, prorations. I try to prorate all taxes, which means that up to the day of closing, they need to pay for all the taxes. And then from the day of closing forward, I pay for taxes, or my buyer in some cases. Okay, so I try to do prorations. What I don't do prorations on is things like special assessments or back taxes or pending assessments, meaning like they're going to build a school or they're putting in new streets, so they start taxing everybody in the neighborhood in advance of that. I don't want to pay for any of that. Like I didn't benefit from any of that kind of stuff. I only want to pay for from today forward. So if they knew about a certain tax or they didn't mow their lawn and the city put an assessment on their property for cutting their lawn for them, I want them to pay all that kind of stuff. Okay. Condition reports. This is going to vary so much by every single state. Wisconsin had a rental weatherization, meaning they checked the insulation and checked the seals of the house. They actually ended that program last year, but it's still built into the contracts. I won't get into it here, but whatever you got to do to comply with your local city or state level ordinances, you want to make sure that you do naturally. Sometimes they have point of sale inspections. You've got to deal with the repairs that are on the list. You either got to assume the repairs that you're going to do them and take over them, or the buyer's going to do them. I've dealt with that. You just have to live within the parameters of whatever the law says. Okay. Next one talks about buyers pre-closing walkthrough. I can't change that stuff, so I'm not going to go through it. Next section is a financing contingency. If you're using loans, check this off and give yourself the contingency. I usually stick with just cash purchases myself, and so do my buyers. Now, you might be wondering, well, what if I'm using one of those private lenders that's going to do a one-day closing for me when I sell it to my buyer? I still don't check off financing contingency on those, because that lender usually doesn't do an appraisal or anything like that. They're just looking at the deal and how fast you're going to sell it. Now, if you are using a lender that requires an appraisal, then you probably want this. Get a financing contingency worked in there, okay? Next section, time is of the essence. Yes, agreed. Title evidence. I like a warranty deed myself. Check with your local closing company, title company, or attorney on what they feel is best for you. I always get a title policy, and I'm willing to pay for it. That's just title insurance. I never skip that. I skipped it once when I was young and dumb. I skipped it once when I was young and dumb on a deal. It was a lot that I ended up with when I bought a rental house that came with a lot. I thought I scored this really good deal because I got the rental house at a pretty good price, and then I got this lot with it for free. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to sell this lot and I'm going to make 20 grand off of it. Well, it turns out that when I went to sell it, that there was a mortgage recorded against the lot. I skipped doing title insurance and title searches on the lot. I got it on the piece of real estate itself, the property that I bought, but not the lot. I trusted the seller's word because I knew the seller. But so I don't do that anymore. Now I want title insurance on everything. Okay. Earnest money. I like earnest money held by my title company. I don't want it to go to the seller's title company. I prefer it to go to my title company. I just know the people. I trust the people. All that kind of stuff. Inspection contingency. I always get an inspection contingency. I like to have my inspections run pretty much almost till closing or a week before closing. So if I'm closing in 30 days, I want my inspection for 20 days. If I'm closing in 40 days, I want my inspection for 30 days. Why? Because I might be using that time to bring buyers through the house. I might be using that time to get a termite inspection. I might be using that time to get a roof inspection. I don't know what it is, but I want time to make sure that this property is everything that I think that it is. And I want to be able to bring in professionals or buyers to see that as well. Okay. Any additional provisions or contingencies? You can get fancy with this here. Like you can say this is contingent upon walkthrough of my business partner. I've used to do that kind of stuff. I stopped doing kind of the fancy stuff. And instead now I stick to a pretty clean purchase agreement, because what I've noticed is that if you submit your offer, and then there's somebody else that submits their offer, and you're the exact same price and you're closing on the same time frame, but your offer has a whole bunch of contingencies, clauses that say you can back out. What I notice is that I've lost some of those deals to buyers that just submitted a clean offer, because the seller looks at it in their mind and says, well, I got the cash guaranteed right now, or I've got this offer that has a whole bunch of contingencies. So I stick with just my inspection contingency. Now, in some states, like the state that I'm in right now, I'm physically in Florida, if you do an inspection, you have to have a licensed inspector or a licensed general contractor do the inspection, which costs real money, okay? That's a cost of doing business is the way that I look at it. I'm comfortable with it. I'm okay with it. If you want to remove that, then make sure you remove it. Talk to your real estate attorney, carve that section out, and write in there, the inspection will be done by me. I'll determine if I like the property or don't like the property. I do not need a licensed inspector to walk the property. Okay, so you might be going against conventional norms, so to speak, but make sure the contract is written as you feel comfortable with the contract. Okay, then everybody signs it, everybody dates it. Some states require disclosures, even though it's an as-is sale. Other states don't require disclosures, but that's everything in the purchase agreement. So This is the same purchase agreement that I use between myself and the seller. And then I turn around and use the same purchase agreement with myself and the buyer. Okay. The difference that I have between myself and the buyer is that I don't allow a back out period. Like I might give them a 1-day inspection period so they can come and review the property. My attorney actually told me that I had to do that because if I force everybody into a no inspection period, et cetera, then they might think that I'm doing something wrong or whatever, and the seller or the buyer might come back later and try to make a claim. So I'll give them a 1-day inspection period. Awesome, fine. But they just like, I want to know, are they in or are they out? Because with these good wholesale deals, we're helping the seller move their property quickly. And at the end of the day, if we don't help them move it quickly, then it's not worth it for the seller to go forward with us. So I don't want a buyer like pulling my strings and stuff for 7 days trying to inspect the property and renegotiate later. No, I'd rather just have them know right up front. I know it's a little bit of a double standard because we're asking for a longer inspection period with the seller, but I'm doing that and I'm saying it out loud because I want you to be in the safest position that you possibly can be, okay? And then with all that said, know that every seller might ask for something different. I mean, it's not literally going to happen every time, but 1 out of 10, you're going to have sellers or buyers that ask you to do something different, and then it'll just be up to you. It'll be a business decision. You're the general manager, you're the CEO, president. You're going to decide, is that a good move for me or not a good move for me? Okay, as close as you can stick to the rules that I mentioned, and whatever your attorney tells you is probably the way that you're going to be the most protected. Okay, last one that I'll say is earnest money with my buyer. With my buyers, I usually take in $4,000 or a minimum of whatever I had to put out to the seller. Okay, so if I had to put out $1,000 to the seller, I better get at least $1,000 from the buyer. I like to do $4,000 minimums because $4,000 is enough where the buyer's probably not going to walk away. That makes sense. Okay, cool. I'll see you in the next contract. Okay, now we are going to move over to the next contract. And what I want to take us through is one that's called the assignment of contract. That's a good one, that construction contract. We're going to cover that one still today. This one, okay. Okay, welcome to the assignment of contract, the assignment and the assumption of purchase agreement. This contract's worth a lot of money, okay? I know it looks fairly simple in its form, but I paid a couple $1,000s because I've gone through several iterations of this, several versions of this, and it's yours free for as part of this course. This thing is so powerful because what most assignment of contracts miss is this little thing about earnest money, and this other little thing that's actually a huge thing is called liability, okay? Most contracts, assignment of contracts, they're like literally written on a napkin, or you could write them on a napkin, and you could transfer the rights of your contracts to a buyer. No joke, I did that once. I showed up to a closing, and I remember my closing person, he's title company and attorney, Brian Holscher. Brian said, "Hey, Nate, where's the assignment of contract?" And I'm like, oh, shoot, I forgot the assignment of contract. My buyer's starting to show up, the seller's showing up. It's one of those A to B to C deals, and I didn't have the assignment of contract. I forgot it. Everybody knew that it was an A to B to C deal, so everything should go okay, but I forgot the silly assignment of contract. So I took a piece of paper, a blank white piece of paper, and I wrote whatever entity I was buying it in. I'll just pretend it was Nate Armstrong. I, Nate Armstrong, hereby assign the rights of my contract for the address, 123 Main Street, to, and I wrote the name of my buyer on it. And then I signed it, I dated it, and I put an assignment fee of $7,000 will be made payable to me today. And I signed it, I dated it. Buyers walked in and I said, hey, I forgot the assignment of contract, but I just made one up right now. And then buyer signed it and dated it. And then the closer in the room, it was Brian's team member, Benji. Benji looks at me and he looks at the assignment and he's like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, I'm serious. There's the assignment. And then he looks at Brian, and Brian's like, yeah, that's all it needs. And Brian's an attorney. So Benji's like, okay, at least I'm going to go make a photocopy of this so it looks a little bit more official. So he went and made a photocopy. We closed the deal. I got my check for $7,000 or whatever it was, and we closed the deal. So an assignment of contract can be very, very simple, and that's how most assignments of contract are. Okay, but the problem with the assignment that I just told you about is that it doesn't actually transfer the liability of the contract. Okay, what I mean by that is, what happens if I assign the rights of my contract to my buyer, but the buyer doesn't show up for closing? Okay, literally, like, you got this deal locked up for $75,000 or $100,000, and then your buyer's going to buy it for 10 grand more than you, 110,000. And then closing day comes around and the buyer doesn't show up to closing. Seller's there, you're there, buyer's not there. What happens? Who's liable? Well, what's the seller going to say to you? Because the seller only knows you. The seller doesn't know your buyer. The seller's going to look right at you and say, hey, you told me this is going to close. Like, I'm mad, I'm angry. Well, the seller could get pretty angry, and they could actually go out and sue you if they wanted to. They could sue under something called specific performance. That means you didn't perform on your end of the deal. Okay, you don't want that scenario, not at all. So what you want to make sure is that if you're going to assign your rights to the contract away to somebody else, you also have to have them assume all the liability. Okay, now I'm not sitting here giving a legal opinion that plain Jane assignment of contract that I just told you about, that you're not assigning your liability, but there could be an argument made that you're not assigning your liability because it doesn't say anything about the liability of the contract. Okay, so what my attorney ended up creating for me in this agreement, and we've gone through a few different versions of this now, that's why it's a couple $1,000 contract, is that he put in there that the person that's taking over the contract, they're known as the assignee, hereby accepts the assignment of purchase agreement and is bound by the terms and conditions of the purchase agreement to perform all obligations. And then look at this next clause down here, release. Assignor shall be forever released and discharged from its covenants, agreements, and duties and liabilities under the purchase agreement. That's the key one, okay? Assumption and release. So on this one really makes it black and white. Like, if I'm assigning the rights to my contract, I'm also being released from this contract, okay? The other one in here is that you got a couple blanks in here. You're basically filling out who's who, what are the LLCs, who are the parties, all that kind of stuff. The assignor is the person assigning the contract to the person that's taking over the contract. So it's usually you. The assignee is the person that's taking the contract, your buyer. The seller is the seller. That's the A in the equation, whoever's selling you the property. Okay, so you fill out those blanks just like that. You write the address up here, so then you can tie it to the actual purchase agreement. You come down here, you spell out the assignment fee. You want to make sure you actually write that out. How much are you making? If your assignment fee is $7,000, you write $7,000 right there, black and white. Okay, earnest money. I've seen so many wholesalers, they'll show up to closings and they'll forget that they put in some earnest money, $300, $500, whatever it is. And when they assign their rights to the contract to their buyer, they forget that they had earnest money in the deal. And when they assign their rights away, if they had earnest money out, they just now assign their earnest money to their buyer. Their buyer will get credit for it at closing, and the wholesaler won't. So you want to make sure you write in your earnest money right here. So if it's $500, you write in $500. $500 of earnest money for the purchase agreement has been delivered as required. The assignee and assignor hereby agree that the earnest money will remain on deposit, provided that the assignee shall reimburse the assignor the full amount of earnest money in addition to the consideration set forth. So that's saying, hey, I'm going to leave my $500 earnest money in here so long as you give me the extra $500 back. Okay, boom. Then down here, it doesn't have to be here, but I just added this here so that the title company sees it very clearly. The assignment fee is, the earnest money is. So let's just say that the assignment fee is $7,000 and the earnest money was $500. I want to make sure I'm getting $7,500 back that day of closing. I sign it, the assignee signs it, it goes to the title company or the attorney that's closing it, and then boom, you're done. So that's the assignment of contract. This is your $2,000 assignment of contract form, only because I've had to go through so many iterations of it, but it's freaking solid. I love this one. Run it by your attorney to get your attorney's opinions and legal thoughts too. Okay, see you in the next contract. Okay, guys, we're cooking along here. I know that these contracts, they're a little bit dry sometimes. I'm so sorry about that, but they're so necessary because there's just these little things. If you miss something, it can get ugly on you. So I just don't want anybody to miss anything. Okay, we talked about double close, so I'm actually gonna leave that one out. We covered that. We've covered the contracts, the live section training of it. Awesome. Okay, now we're gonna do a fun little activity here, and then I'm here too. So if you've got questions as we go, then you feel free to ask me. I'm checking the chat roll. That's why you see me look over to the side sometimes. I'm checking that chat roll. So if you got questions, you can go ahead and fire them off, and then I'm here. Okay. Sit up straight now for you. Okay. Okay. Should switch to whiteboard. There it comes. Okay. And just to make sure I know everything that we're talking about, best buyer. Okay. Okay, welcome back. We're going to do a little exercise called best buyer. All right, bigger so you can see it. Best buyer. Who is the best buyer? If I ask you that question, what do you think the answer is? If you're going to wholesale houses to somebody, who do you think is the best possible buyer that you could wholesale it to? I'll give you some choices. Okay, one, financed retail, meaning someone that's taking out a loan and they want to close on it and they need like 60 to 90 days to close on it. So financed retail. Okay. Second one is cash retail. Third one is cash landlord. Okay. Fourth one is cash fix and flip, meaning the person is going to buy it, fix it, sell it. Okay. The third one was a landlord that's going to buy with cash. They're going to hold on to it as a rental. Which one do you think is the best buyer? Okay. Now, when I first started in this business, I had a lot of varying opinions on this. For a while, I thought, well, there's so many people out there that are financed retail buyers. Maybe that's the best buyer out there. That is a great group of buyers that realtors cater to. The thing with this is that they can't close fast. And if the lender finds anything wrong with the house, then they're not going to close at all, or they're going to require work orders, which in our line of business where we're picking up really good deals off market, there's usually something wrong with the house. So there could be something wrong with the house. So it's not number one. No way. Okay. Then number two, cash retail. I'm like, well, yeah, cash. If there's someone that has cash and they can buy the house with cash and they're going to move into it, they're probably going to love it more. So they're going to pay more for it. So maybe that's the right answer on this one. And what I realized over time is that there's just not a lot of people that are moving into properties that are buying with cash. I mean, there are, but in comparison to the investors that have cash, there's way more investors that have cash that will buy properties, okay, that aren't moving into them. The other thing that I don't like about retail in general is that retail buyers get very emotional. So they want the house to be like perfect or near perfect. And they're not looking for a wholesale deal typically. They're looking for a perfect deal to move into. So the houses that I deal with, they usually need a little bit of love, some kind of TLC. Maybe the seller's lived in it for 15 years and hasn't updated it. So that's not the buyer group for me. I was a real estate agent for a while, and I had a partner that was a real estate agent, and we used to take in buyers, and they were finance retail and cash retail. And I remember she came back. I handled mostly the investor side, and she handled mostly the retail side. And I remember she came back after like doing 4 weekends of showings with this one couple. And then they decided not to buy after 4 weekends of showings. So she like literally worked her butt off nonstop, all Friday afternoon, pulling listings, getting these packets prepared, pulling comps on all the properties, being ready to go, and then jumped in the car, spent 4 weekends with them. So no weekends off, just kept going straight through for almost a month. And then the buyers ended up just deciding they didn't want to buy. They changed their mind. She was so mad, so fired up. Like she was so mad that I got fired up about it too. And I just said, well, I'm going to stick to this investor side. Like I can help people. I can do repeat business over and over again. So yeah, throw those away. Okay, so we're left with two. We're left with the fix and flippers and the landlords. Okay, so to see who is better, we're going to do this. We're going to do landlord, and then we're going to do fix and flip people. Okay, who is the better buyer? Who do you think is the better buyer? Landlords or fix and flip people? Okay. I want to walk you through the timelines with these people. Okay. I want you to think like a business person. I want you to think, we already know that these two are cash. I should put that up here. Cash, just so it's very clear to everybody. We got a transparency slider. I like that. Let's make it a little brighter. Okay. So these are both cash, ready to go. Boom, boom, boom. They can do deals fast. There's no inspection holdups or financing holdups. They've got cash. But who is the better buyer between the two? Now, I want you to think like a business person on this. I want you to think about once you establish a relationship with a client, no different than like now you and I know one another. Now we might feel more comfortable to do business together in the future if I can help you in any way or if you can help me in any way because we actually got to correspond back and forth. That's a relationship. That's like a customer relationship that you have. And it's no different with these folks when they're buying properties from us. You want to have a relationship with them and you want to be able to do repeat deals with them over and over and over again. So I want you to figure out with me as I go through this exercise, who is the better buyer based on volume of business they can do with you, the landlord or the fix and flipper. Okay. So the landlord, I want to go through the life cycle of, let's just say, $100,000 cash. Okay, $100,000 cash. They both call you one day. They say, you know what? Let's even double it. Okay, I'm in Sarasota. You can't buy much for 100 grand. You can get some stuff if you go out a little bit for 200 grand though. Okay, so they both call you one day and they're like, hey, I got 200 grand cash sitting here. I want to put it to work. Find me something. Okay, so the landlord, what they do, you find them a property, they close on it. I want to go through and figure out how long it takes them to get their money back and do this again. Okay, so let me start with the fix and flipper. Okay, so the fix and flipper, they buy a property from you, so they buy it. Okay, do they get their money back on the buy? No. Okay, they just put their money in. Okay, what do they have to do next? They have to rehab it. Rehab. Okay, how long does it take a flipper to rehab? And keep in mind, to flip a house, it's not quite the same renovation as a rental. Rentals, like you can get by with carpet and paint and sometimes appliances, smoke detectors, CO detectors, etc. But for a fix and flipper, how long does it take to rehab that property? Okay, most of them, if they're really experienced flippers, they can get the rehab done in about 3 months. Okay. Now, I know that there's some good ones out there that can get it done in 4 weeks. They're just few and far between. Usually it's about 3 months of time. Okay. Okay. So let's just say that they rehab. You know what? I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say we've got a pro. This is a pro. Like they get stuff done. They pass their inspections fast and they get it done in 2 months. Okay. 2 months. That doesn't look like a month. Okay, they get it done in 2 months. What happens? Do they get their money back in 2 months? No, they got to list it for sale, right? Okay, how long does a property have to sit on the market typically for them to get an acceptable offer? Okay, usually if they price it really well, they might get an offer the next day, but usually houses sit on the market for at least 6 weeks before they get a good offer. That time frame has actually been stretching out, especially in higher price points. But let's just say that they happen to somehow get an offer in 6 weeks. So it's 1.5 months. Okay, boom. When they list it and they get an offer in a month and a half, does that mean they're closing on it in a month and a half? No, it means that they just got an acceptable contract on it. Now, how long does it need to go through? Most states, we call this period escrow. It's when the lender is sending out the appraiser, the buyer's doing their inspection, all this junk before closing, okay? How long does it sit in escrow before it closes, okay? My answer a long time ago used to be 4 to 5 weeks. Now it's actually closer to 3 months. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to say 2 months on this because most buyers are using financing. And the lenders nowadays, because of new TRID laws and things like that, they're taking forever. It's very easy for a closing to take 3 months. It's just the way it is. I've seen some go 4 or 5 months. But 2 months, if you've got a good loan officer and you got a good lender behind it and fast appraiser and all that kind of stuff, you can probably push it through the system in 2 months if you're all working together on it. Okay, and then closing happens, closed, boom. Now when they close, they get their money back. So how long is this total? We got 2 months, 4 months, 5.5 months, 5.5 months. Okay. Now, if this buyer was to do, this fix and flip buyer was to do, recycle their money with you and get another deal, how many deals in a year can they do with the same exact money? Same exact money, that 200 grand, they put it to work, they bought it, they rehabbed, they listed it, they closed it out, took them 5.5 months. How many deals can they do in a year with the same money? The answer is 2, right on. Okay, now the landlord, okay, they buy it. How long does it take them to get their money back? Okay, they got to go through a similar process. They rehab it. Okay, now the rehab for rentals is completely different. Like I just turned over, my wife and I had a house in Milwaukee that we literally got it turned over in a short period of time. We put it up for rent and we had a tenant like snap of my fingers. I shouldn't even use my house as an example because we have a good team that got everything done fast. But let's just say that they don't do it fast. It takes them about a month, okay? Rentals shouldn't take that long. Now, I know if you end up with like a big contractor and they have a line of stuff, and I've made mistakes where I've hired big contractors and I've referred clients to big contractors, and sometimes they take too long to do things. But a simple rental rehab, carpet, paint, appliances, that should take about a month. Now, if it's full on, full scale, then it could take the same amount of time as a fix and flip one, but about a month typically, okay? Now, they do have to list it to get their money back. I'm going to show you how they get their money back. They're not going to sell it and get their money back. They get their money back in a different way. They do have to list it, but it lists for rent. How long does it take to rent out a house? Okay. I just listed a house, a $2,800 per month house for rent, and it took 10 days to rent out. 10 days. Okay. That's an expensive house. Usually cheaper houses move much faster. One of the property management companies that has over 1,000 units that we use, their claim to fame is that they'll rent your house in 14 days or less. And they pretty much always do it. So it's about half a month. So what I'm going to write right here is 0.5 months. Okay. Now it's rented out. Now what do they got to do to get their money back? Well, they got to do this. They call the bank and they do something called a refinance. Now, what that is, if you ever taken out a home equity line of credit on your house, you actually sort of did a refinance. It's not the same as a refinance, but it's a similar process. You call the banker already knows you, they've got your financials, especially if you're doing the home equity line of credit with the same bank that you do banking with, which most people do. So let's just say it's Wells Fargo or TCF or US Bank. You walk in and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Banker, can you do a home equity line of credit on my house? I want to free up some cash. They send an appraiser out. They say, okay, great. We'll give you 70% of whatever it appraised for. You already got this much debt on your property. I can give you this much money. Okay, that process is pretty fast. If you've ever done a home equity line of credit and you had all your docs with that bank already, that process is maybe about a month before they're like saying, hey, here's your money. Okay. In a refinance, so I'm going to put a month on here. And these landlords, they have these relationships with banks. If they don't, then we're going to teach them how to so they can get their money back faster. but they've got these relationships with banks so that they can do a similar process called a refinance. It means it's almost like putting a home equity line of credit on their rental house, but it's an actual refinance, it's a cash out refinance is what it's called. They're not paying off an existing loan, but they're pulling cash out of the property. So it's a cash out refi. Okay, they can do this process fast. So how long did it take them to close this whole process? 1 month, 2 month, 2.5 months. Okay, we could even round up to 3 to make our math simple. How many deals can the landlord do in 1 year with you with the same amount of money? We'll round up. Okay, well, I mean, we're rounding up this 2.5 to 3, but they can do 4 deals in a year. How many more deals can they do than the fix and flipper? Double. You got 2x over here. 2x. This is why landlord buyers are so much more valuable to me than flipper buyers. Okay, the other thing is that what happens is that a flipper, when they sell a property, let's just pretend for super simple numbers, they're going to sell it for $100,000. Okay, they have to budget in 10%, which is $10,000, for commissions and closing costs. Okay. I know some people are going to be like, well, Nate, that's not right. It's 6%. Yes, I know it's 6%. But in addition to that, what's going to happen is that the buyer, because this is the retail market for flippers, this is all for flippers, right? Flipper. Okay, the fix and flip people. Okay, for the flippers, they got to do 10% commissions and closing costs, because what happens is they've got 6% going to realtors, and then they have an additional 2 to 3% going to buyers' closing costs. And then what's happening even more often right now is that there's almost always lender required work orders. The lender sends the appraiser out to the property, who's an appraiser, not an inspector, but an appraiser. And the appraiser says, hey, that roof looks bad. Not a roofing specialist, but they say that roof looks bad, or I see peeling paint, or I see something wrong with the foundation. And then all of a sudden, the buyer has to shovel out more money to get it done. And I would even argue that if the house is a little bit older, that this could go easily from 10% to 20%. I've got a person now I'm trying to help that he's selling a few properties in Milwaukee, and he decided to sell them all retail instead of to landlords. And he had one locked up on Oklahoma Avenue. He had one locked up for sale with the buyer, and the buyer came back, and the buyer's appraiser came out and hammered him on the foundation. The foundation's got something going on with it, so he stepped up right away and said, you know what, I'll put in drain tile, $7,000. I'll put in drain tile that helps get the water out and away from the house. $7,000, no problem. And then they said yes, and everybody signed it, and he thought, okay, I'm going to close it. It's going to take $7,000 out of my pocket, but at the end of the day, it's worth it. And then they came back and they said, well, we also see a crack in the foundation. We want this excavated. So now he's in this big debacle right now in order to get the lender to move forward. He's already got the drain tile paid for. He can't go backwards and undo the $7,000. He's stuck. He has to go forward and make this lender happy. So it's going to cost him more like 25% when it's all said and done. So the retail market, these flippers, they have to budget for that. They do. So guess what happens? Okay, they need 10% for commissions and closing costs, etc. So that's cut right off the top. Now, does the landlord need that? Landlord. I know I misspelled it. There we go. If they're buying for 100, do they need an extra 10% cut off? Do they have to factor in holding costs for 5 months as the property sits there? Do they have to pay 6 or 5 months of taxes while it sits there vacant? No, they turn these things over in 3 months, as we just showed in the last exercise. So the landlord, they can usually pay more for a property too. Okay, so my favorite type of buyer out there is a landlord cash buyer. Every single day of the week, I will take a landlord cash buyer over a flipper. Now, there's way more flippers. You're going to find way more flippers with ease. They're out there. But I prefer to go after the landlord cash buyer. Okay, I'll see you in the next section. Okay, Matt, you made it. Awesome. Welcome back. Okay, I know I'm looking over here, so it looks funny, but that's because I got the chat roll over here. If it's not okay, cash out refinance has 6 to 12 month season requirement for most banks. Yeah, in Texas it does. It's not an issue if they bought with a mortgage hard money because they can do a rate refinance immediately. Matt, you have an excellent point for Texas. Texas has a long hold time. I think they call it title seasoning. Yeah, seasoning, same thing. So 6 to 12 months. I had a client from Texas that bought a lot of properties from me in Minnesota because Minnesota didn't have a requirement, a title rescission requirement. And what I found is that usually it's a requirement of the bank or the institution, but in Texas, it's actually the law. So you guys are pretty tough in Texas on that. So yeah, so the landlord, to your point, you actually mentioned here that if they had a hard money loan, so if they bought it with a mortgage, hard money loan, it's not an issue if they bought it with a mortgage hard money because they can do a rate/term refinance immediately. Okay, so that's the secret strategy for the landlord. If you're selling to a lot of landlords and they don't know what you just spelled out, that they buy with hard money and then they can do a refinance, I would teach them that for sure. I have taught a lot of my buyers how to do that cash out refinance in a short window of time, because for them, they're even more excited because they can pull their cash back or the majority of it, and they can go on to do the next deal with you and the next one and the next one and the next one. So it's a very, very powerful thing. So thanks for pointing that out, though. Texas is tough. It's good, though. Keeps people in line. It doesn't let stuff get way off the rails. Okay. Let's move on. So we are going to be covering next. Over here, make sure we're not missing anything. We'll do a time check. Okay, about 25 minutes before I have to let you guys go, but I got a lot of stuff I'm going to cover. And one thing I'm going to mention while we're just here together before I start the recording again is that we're going to do a nice bonus next week. Okay, I don't know if you're into like live stuff where you get to see what's happening live out in action, but I learn more, me and my learning style, when I actually see someone do it. So what I'm going to do, I showed you earlier, I started running Facebook ads in Sarasota. I just got here and I'm like, I want this stuff done. I want results here. So I got these leads that came in, and I'm going to be going out next week to seller appointments. Now I can't drag the camera and shove it down the seller's throat. That might be a little bit weird, but I'm going to be going live next week and showing my preparation for it, my PowerPoint presentation. Would you guys like my PowerPoint presentation that I show the seller? Okay. I think that will help you. I didn't promise that as part of the course, but I got this really powerful presentation beefed up. I kind of structured it, but I had someone else help me with it. Now it walks me through what to say. I literally am able to bring my tablet out to the house and then sit down with the seller and kind of walk through it step by step. And then I also, I showed you guys that side-by-side comparison on a different training. But I also put the data for their house inside that side-by-side. So then when I'm there, I can show them look, this is a fair offer. Here's why. If you list it with a realtor, here's this outcome. If you decide to sell with me, here's this outcome. And I stand behind it. I believe it. Here's people that have, in my presentation, here's why you should sell to us. So it's got everything. And I want to show you guys that. I want to make it as real and as live as possible. I know that right now we spent a lot of time on contracts and some of that drier stuff, necessary part of the business, obviously. But next week, I want to take you with me. If you can't watch live right when I'm doing it, then it will all be recorded for you so that you can watch it whenever you want. But if you're able to join live because it'll be fun. I'll announce the times as soon as I've got the appointments filled by the sellers. And then that way you'll know when I'm going to go live. Okay. So some of them I might even just do randomly, if a seller calls me, I'm planning on pressing the button too. Okay. Okay, we did best buyer. Now, for those of you that are wholesaling, you're going to want to pay attention on this next section here. I think I might reverse the order of this actually though. Okay, I want to show you how to sell without selling. Okay, we're gonna come over here to this. And 3, 2, 1. Okay, welcome to selling without selling. Okay, part of wholesaling is being able to find buyers for projects or find partners for projects. And for me, the way that I've found the most buyers or partners for projects is by packaging stuff very professionally. Okay, so what we've included here, you'll either have a copy of this in the link below the video or this will be emailed to you. But this is something we call our brochure. Okay, it's plain Jane Microsoft Word document, but it's packed with so much data, your buyers will flip. Okay, most people, when they send out a wholesale deal, it's like you're lucky if you get the ARV and the rehab number out of them. What we try to do with our presentation of our properties is we try to go above and beyond. We try to really deck this thing out and make it the most that we possibly can, so our buyers know and understand that like we're high quality people. Okay, this is the art of wholesaling after all. Okay, now this is a brochure. I took my logo off it, but right here on the top you'd put your logo. Okay, when you're ready for this, all you're going to do is you click the link to come into it, and you're going to go file, make a copy, you name it whatever copy you want. Okay, if you prefer to not have this on Google Drive in the cloud, then you go File, Download as, Microsoft Word. Okay, I'm going to blow this up a little bit so that you guys can see it better too. Okay, so your logo goes at the top, whatever your logo is. If you don't have a logo yet, then it's just Nate Buys Houses Presents. Boom, that works. I did that for a long time. Okay, property address, bedroom, bathroom count, square footage count, off street, whatever details you can about the house, you put it there. I always put a nice curb shot of the property. The number one thing people want to know about the property is they want to see if it looks good from the outside. That's the first thing people look at for whatever reason. Okay, this next section right here, this is a chance to put a little paragraph of why this house is awesome. Okay, so one paragraph, you can use the example stuff that I put in there. It's 10 minutes away to Whitefish Bay on Lake Michigan. Incredible investment opportunity, whatever it is. Like, this is your chance to brag about the house for one paragraph. Don't get longer than that. Don't write a novel because people won't read it. But if you write one paragraph, they'll read it. Okay. Then I always like to include a few photos of around the area. 2 photos is sufficient, and I'm trying to show them some nice stuff that's in the area. Okay. People know that real estate is geographically, like, it's local, so to speak. And they want to know, like, hey, what's it around? Like, why should I care about this property? So I always find something within 10 minutes of it, that a couple photos of it, boom, boom. So then they get that in their mind. Next thing I print is the closing date. I want my buyers to know, because this is getting made for buyers and or partners. I want them to know when it's closing. So I put that right on here, boom, big bold letters. Then they've got that in their minds. Okay, the next page. This is filled with data. Okay, first one is Trulia Neighborhood and Crime Map. Okay, what this is a hyperlink. You're going to change this. To change this, you're going to change it to your Trulia link. Don't leave it as mine. You're going to click the change button, and you see here how it's the address is linking to a link of mine. You're going to recycle it out for yours, or you're going to swap it out for yours. So if, let's just say that this is your Trulia link, you would copy it, and then you would come back in here and you would paste it. Boom. Okay, I'm not going to actually do that because I don't want that to change, but that's how you do it. So you click change and you change it. Okay, location is the next one, Google Maps. We always include a Google Map Street View. Okay, so to come up with a Google Map Street View, like this is the thing on Google for them. It's not actually the street view, but it's the property linked right in Google, so that all they have to do is click it and they'll end up right there where the property is. Oh, this property, I know this one. I know this one really well. So this property reminds me of a story, okay? This property I got from a pastor of a church from Jennifer Buys Houses. This property as well. And then I'll walk around. This is cool. The church is just literally right around the corner. We'll walk down this street. I went down the wrong way. I think I went a little bit too far. I don't want to go that far. Hey, come on, Google, stop messing with me here. So this one is from this church right here. It's like zooming me down to the end of the block. I don't want to waste a bunch of time, but there's a church right over here. And this pastor called off the Jennifer Buys Houses signs. And I remember working with him and I told him, like, I said, I don't want to take a dollar away from God. Like, I'll help you. I'll help you for free. Like, you want a buyer? I'll probably just refer a buyer to you for free because I don't want to take a dollar from God. And he was laughing, and I got to know him. We text each other still now to this day. But going through the whole process, like I told him, like, your best thing on this is for you to keep these houses rented and then refinance, do a cash out refinance, pull your money back. You got the money for the church. And he called me back again. He's like, Nate, thank you so much for your honesty. I appreciate that. But it's like, I just want to sell to you. I want to work with you. I'm like, wow, that's pretty powerful. That's really cool. Thank you. I still said, I don't want to take a dollar from God. I don't want to do it. No. But it's kind of cool that those leads came from Jennifer Buys Houses off Facebook. Okay, back to the point at hand. Sorry. I always put the link for Google Street View so that are the actual Google link so that people can see it. Next one, link to property taxes. I don't like to mess around with like tax stuff. I don't want anyone to ever like get mad at me for having inaccurate tax information. So what we do on our team is we go right to the county website and we print off whatever the county says it is. Okay, so I don't ever want to be accused of saying, hey, you told me this and it's not really that. Well, we're going to go right to the county website. We're going to print it off. Okay, next one right here, property video walkthrough. I don't have one posted on this one, but what you're going to post there is your video walkthrough. I literally mean, like, when I walk properties with a seller, I take a video. I literally take out my smartphone, I hold it widthwise like this, and I walk around. You might not be able to see it because I'm holding it up and maybe it's not visible for you right now because I don't have the front-facing camera. But you literally hold up your smartphone widthwise and you walk around the property and you video the whole thing. My videos are usually between 5 minutes and 15 minutes, depending on how big the property is. I get the interior and I get the exterior. I don't skip anything. I get the basement, I get the foundation walls, I get the furnace, I get the hot water heater, the electric panel. I want to be able to show everything to my buyer without my buyer having to drive to the property. Okay, this is a secret weapon for those that, if you want to wholesale at a high level and you want to get buyers to be able to say yes or no by text message, you got to show them everything. They love it. My buyers love it when I send them a text message that has a link that has all this data that we're talking about right at their fingertips. So I do a video top to bottom of the whole property. I also snap photos of the property because there's some people that they're just stuck on photos, but most will watch a video now. Okay, so I upload the video to YouTube and then I put the link right here. I change it to my YouTube link and then boom. If you're wondering like, hey, well, Nate, how do I upload to YouTube? Literally ask like a 14-year-old. I'm not joking when I say that either. I just find that technology stuff, it's easier for the younger generation to do that. But you go to youtube.com/upload, and then it will pop you to a page that looks like this, and you pick the video that you want. So whatever video it is, you can start uploading. Okay. I'll put that link below the video or get it emailed to you as well. Okay. I lost track of the spot that I was on. Okay, we're done with that. We're here. Okay, next one, rent quotes. Since I like to cater to my best buyer is the landlord buyer because they buy over and over again. I want to provide all of the data that a landlord cares about. So I get a rent quote. How do I do this? I literally contact a property management company in the area. Here's a property management company. This one happens to be Renters Warehouse. So I contacted Renters Warehouse and they said, hey, can you give me rent quotes? And then I'll forward them out with my properties. And then if anybody needs a referral, then we'll refer them to you. And they said, yeah. You can also set up sometimes referral relationships where they'll pay you, or maybe they'll sponsor some of your marketing or whatever kind of deal you work out with it. But that's what we ended up doing. So we got a referral relationship set up, and then bam, here you go. You get rent quotes too, okay? So I include the rent quote with it, so then my buyer knows everything about that property, okay? Next one, comparative market analysis. I ask our real estate agents that we work with most frequently to run comps, or I go into PropStream, I look up a property, I click on, see how here it says average comps. I click on this analysis. Oh, wrong button, sorry. I go down here and I get my comps. It's under analysis. So I go through my analysis. I won't burn you with time right now, but it's a PDF report in here, and I'll pull comps off of this PropStream app. If you decided not to get PropStream and you decide to, if you got another thing that like this that'll pull comps, then use that. The other way to do it is you literally, like in this one you'll see, we asked our real estate agent to run comps on this. I mean, you're doing it for yourself anyways, right? You might as well share what you've got for data on the property with your buyer. Like I share everything open book. I want my buyer to know the same that I know about a property, so that they can make a smart decision and they can trust our deals. Okay, so notice here that there's comps, there's 3 sold comps, and then everything. It's got all the data. This is straight from our real estate agents. So yeah, straight from our real estate agent, and then it's uploaded. The way that we turn it into a PDF is you can click Command P if you're on a Mac, and then when you go to print it, you go Save as PDF, and then you click Save, and it's going to ask you where you want to save it, and you save it. That's how to do it on a Mac. On a PC, it's similar. It's Control P and then Save as PDF. And then the way that we get these things, I know this is a little bit techie, but bear with me. The way that we turn this thing into a link instead is that we go into Google Drive, we upload it. So let's just say that I want to upload, file upload. I'll take whatever this is, this PDF. I'm uploading it. Okay, there it's now uploaded. And then I'm going to go over and I'm going to click this link button, and I'm going to turn on link sharing. I'm going to click it, copy it. I'll go to share settings too. I won't be able to do it in this specific folder because this is a secure folder. But if I'm in a regular Google Drive account, then what happens is then I have the choice of switching this to view, and I switch it to view, and then I can grab the link. I already got the link in this case. And then I come over here and I can change this and paste it here. Boom, I click apply. Now I've got my comps uploaded, okay? Just before I forget, I'm gonna delete this too. So whatever that is, I don't need it in this folder, okay? So that's how we do that, okay? Now, next section, this is the price that the buyer's gonna pay. How much are they gonna pay? They're gonna pay $50,500. How much is the rehab amount? Okay, rehab amount is, and notice I have here in parentheses, not verified, because I'm not doing their rehab. I'm not the rehab expert for them. They're going to bring their own contractor. I'm just going to put what our team thought that it was, but I'm putting in here big letters. There's a big asterisk, and it says not verified, $15,000. I also put in some estimates for them that I think it's going to cost for carrying costs, because they've got to pay for stuff like grass cutting and utilities until a tenant moves in. And then when they do their cash out refinance in their purchase, they're going to have closing costs. So I include some closing costs here. This next section you probably won't need. This is, I'm going to take it out actually. Well, I better take it out and then delete it from this too. You won't need this one more than likely, but what we encourage buyers to do is send an inspector through the property. If they're going to hire a contractor, then have the inspector walk the property after the contractor and all that kind of stuff. So that's why that one's there, to pay for a few different inspections during the process. And then this is their estimated total investment. For us, they're just paying us this. The rest of that money is going to other people, but we're just trying to give them the total picture. And then we have this figured out for them, this whole spreadsheet. You probably remember in a different section of the training that we have something called the deal evaluator, look like this, right? Okay, this deal evaluator, let me open it up and we'll hit it quickly. We already covered this in a different training, but I want to show you where you get that data from. The data comes from tab 2 inside this deal evaluator, where it's actually, okay, there it goes. Down here, you see this? Copy. This fast. Control C or Command C if you're on a Mac. Go to the brochure, then I can paste it. Boom. Okay. Command V. Boom. Paste unlinked. Boom. There it is. It's there. Now, we do have a side-by-side comparison. You don't have to. You can go with just a single one. We do a side-by-side to show, hey, Mr. Landlord, look, if you decide to take it as is, you're probably, without doing rehab to it, just take it as is, because there's a tenant in this property right now. That's why. There's a tenant in this property right now. They're paying $650. Okay? Take it as is. Don't do the rehab, so you're only into it for $52,000. Here's the potential returns that you could get from this thing. Okay? If you decide to do the rehab, then your investment's going to cost a little more, but you're also going to get more rent out of it. So your returns look like this. It looks like a better return if you do the rehab and you get better rents out of it. Okay, and that's what we do. We print all this stuff so that the buyer can see everything about it. Okay, then the next part right here, there's just a legal disclaimer saying, hey, buyer's responsible for their own rehab estimates. The numbers are above our placeholder. We can connect you with contractor referral if you want, or an inspector. Next section says steps to purchase. You contact somebody on our team and we'll help you with the purchase. Then you're going to send an email to us that has your proof of funds. If you're using a lender, we want to see the lender letter. If you're using cash or 401k, then we want a copy of a statement that shows that you've got the cash. Now, you might say, well, Nate, do you do that every time? I don't do it after someone's closed with us because then there's trust. But if someone's doing their first deal with us, then yes, I do ask them to send something. And let's say you get a buyer that's like, well, I don't want to send my bank info. Just tell them, pull out a black Sharpie marker, cross out your account numbers. We don't care about the account numbers. We just want to see that there's funds there so that if we tie this house up for you, then you're going to be able to close on it. Okay, then it says here, you'll get an email from us that's got the purchase agreement. You can electronically sign it. Then you'll send us $4,000 earnest money by the next business day, and we have them send it to the title company. Okay, we also include a copy right here. This is a link of the purchase agreement that we use. Highly recommend doing this because a lot of buyers will say, well, hey, I want to see which contract you're going to send me. Yeah, it's right here. We don't pull out any curveballs or anything like that. This is the contract. We're going to write your name on it. We're going to write the property address. We're going to write the date of closing and the earnest money. But other than that, this is the contract. Okay. And then that's it. That's it on that one. Okay. I'm going to go undo so that it doesn't wreck anything that we already had there. But that's the brochure. Okay. Now, what do you do with this thing? Okay. Watch this. This little link right here. You click share. And you grab this link. You can either share it by typing in their email address here, or I'm just going to grab the link right here. And this is the link that you're going to get an email from. You're going to get this email, either emailed to you, or it will be down below the video below you. And then that's the link that you get to use this thing. Now, I can use the same thing to send to my buyers. Okay, I want to make sure that when my share settings, that it's only set up as view, because I don't want people trying to edit it. So this edit one, that's not good. I would change it to view. And then I would send it out to people, okay? I happen to be inside of a locked folder right now. This is for this class specifically, so it's not gonna let me do everything I wanna do. But if you're in regular old Google Drive, then you can share it with whoever you want, give them view access. Make sure you give them view access. If you just send out the link and they don't have view access, then Google Drive won't do good. Now, the other way you can do it is once you're done with this, you can do File, Download As, Microsoft Word, and then send it out as a Microsoft Word attachment. The other one, and this is becoming more common because a lot of people, they don't like to click links or download stuff. So I'll go Edit, Select All, copy it, and then you paste it into an email. Okay, so you literally just drop it into an email, and then you send it out to people that way. So that's how you get out to people right there. Okay. I'll see you on the next video section. Okay, awesome. Now let me, I know that we're brushing up against the time limit for today, but if you guys can bear with me for 10 more minutes, I will get you, I want to get one more segment in, and then I'm going to go into overtime for next week. You guys have been awesome, so I want to make sure that you get everything possible out of this thing. And I really, really want to see results from everybody. So as you guys are going, poke me some screenshots of your Facebook account. You can do it inside of the page, the Home Invest community page, the Facebook page. Send me some screenshots of your numbers. Like I want to be able to help you inside your business, or if you decide to have somebody else run ads for you or whatever, I want to help you watch that so that you know what numbers you should be watching for. So send me that stuff. Keep in contact. Like keep sending it. And then I'm going to be doing another segment. I mentioned to you guys that I'm going to do a live segment next week, probably a couple of them, if not even 3. And I'll get you guys any information that I can in advance on those so that you can join me on those too. Okay, but bear with me for 15 minutes. If you've got to go, I completely understand. But if you can bear with me for 15 minutes, I'm going to cover one more section. Okay. And then I do see your question over there, Matt. Same for me as a flipper. I always buy with a loan, even though I buy with my own cash. I use a very trusted friend as a lender. That allows me to buy and refinance quickly if one. So you always buy with a loan. Oh, interesting. Oh, this is really interesting. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for sharing that. So something that Matt just shared for Texas specifically, for Houston specifically, even though he's a cash buyer, what he's doing is when he closes, he's recording it as a loan transaction. Okay. So that enables him to refinance the property, to do a cash out refinance if he needs to. So he's not stuck in that like quagmire where he he can't refinance for 12 months. That's awesome. Thank you. That's a creative real estate investor right there. Matt, thank you very much. And you just helped everybody else out in Houston a lot. So if you guys all want to thank Mr. Matt, Matt gave us a golden nugget of the day. I will take that any day of the week. So now that little tip right there, I bet you maybe 1 out of 4 real estate investors know that. And so if you teach it to somebody else, if you teach it to your buyers, your landlord buyers, you might double what they buy from you in a year. Always be thinking like that. The more you can help your buyer, the more business they're going to do with you. That's why our brochure that we went over and spent a lot of time on, that brochure has way more data in it than most wholesalers will ever care to like look up on a property. And then I know it takes an extra 30 minutes to put that thing together. It might even take you an hour the first time you do it. But after you get up and running with it, like your VA can do it. My VA does it all the time. Actually, I haven't made one of those in a couple of years, but I change little things here and there. But my VA does it for me. So half hour investments. You get to provide all that stuff to your buyer. Your buyer's happier with what they're looking at. They can then answer you via text message. I've also picked up a lot of partners from that same exact brochure. They'll look at the deal and they'll say, well, hey, I'm willing to fund this thing. How about instead of you selling it to somebody else, how about we fix it and sell it? And then they step up and they become a partner of mine. And I'm cool with that too. So I send it out to buyers not really looking for partnerships, and then sometimes good partners arise from it. Okay. I want to get you into how to get buyers like right now. Okay, welcome back to the next section. We're going to go inside of good old-fashioned Craigslist. And the reason that I'm taking you inside a good old-fashioned Craigslist is because this is the fastest way to get buyers electronically. Okay, we can also, and we'll do this on a different section of the training, but we can also do it inside of Facebook. But there's more buyers right now sitting inside of Craigslist that you can easily tap into from any city in the country. It doesn't matter, super fast. Okay, I'm inside of Sarasota because that's the city that I'm sitting in right now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go under this housing tab right here. And I want to just search we buy houses. Notice here that there's 82 listings that come up. We buy houses, fast, we buy houses, cash any condition, sell your house, cash, Kevin buys houses. They just keep coming and coming and coming. Okay. Some of them are repeat ads. Some of them are pretty unique. Okay. NV buys houses as is, 941, a 10-minute call. This is awesome. I love this. I'm going to call every single one of these people and I'm going to say, hi, I'm Nate. I get a lot of houses off of my Facebook marketing. Are you looking for houses? Sometimes I won't even get into Facebook marketing, all that kind of stuff. I just say, hey, I'm a wholesaler. I got deals. Are you looking for more deals? I saw your ad on Craigslist. Okay. This is great. Okay. Now, are all of these landlord buyers a perfect buyer? No. Some of them might be wholesalers. Some of them might be flippers. But this is the fastest way to get a whole bunch of people. These people are looking for you. They're marketing for you. Well, they're marketing for a distressed seller. But if you can lead them to a house that's got equity or a distressed seller, they would like to pay you cash for that. Okay. So that's what you do right there. Like if I needed 7 buyers right now, I've got 82 listings to go through. I will find 7 buyers right here. If I had a deal that I got under contract today, this is what I would do. I'd call every single one of these and I'd see how much they could offer me for that property. I'm not necessarily going to take their offer, especially if they're a fix and flipper, because I could probably get a better deal if I sell it to a landlord, but I will call all these people. Why not? Okay. So that's the fast way to get buyers. And I'll probably be doing this because I'm building from zero again in Sarasota, Florida. I've got a great team, been blessed with a great team up in Wisconsin, but now in Sarasota, I'm building from ground zero. Like I have no traction here, no history here. I just moved here and a couple weeks ago, and I will probably have a deal under contract in the next 2 weeks. If not sooner. And then I will do this exactly. I will call people off of this and I will find a buyer for my properties. Okay. So that's one method right there on using Craigslist. The next one that I want to show, Craigslist, I'm going to post inside of Craigslist, create a posting. Okay. I am going under housing offered. And I'm going to real estate by owner, not by broker. Don't confuse this one. I don't want to list with a bunch of real estate agents. I'm going by owner. Okay, posting title. If you've got your deal, so we've got this brochure right here. Okay, if you've already built this thing, this makes it super fast. But I'll just grab this, copy. Now I know that Craigslist is going to argue with me if I try to upload a Milwaukee property in Sarasota, so I'll be careful with that. But I'll do something like this. Yeah, there we go. Posting title, fixer upper. Okay. Let me give you just a couple. I'm going to rattle them off talking out loud, and you can try all these different ads. But fixer upper works really well. As is, must sell works really well. And my all-time best one that like gets so many more calls than any other ad that I post on Craigslist or on Bandit Signs or anything else is desperate must sell. Okay, there's a story that goes with that. Desperate must sell. Some of the sellers you're going to work with, they're desperate. Like they're going to call you and they're like, please help. You got to help me. So it's true. It's not like some fabricated thing. But I posted this one time because I got a house accepted in a really rough part of town. And my wife, a guy wanted to keep this thing. The house was it was like $12,000 to $17,000, under 20 grand. Smoking deal, in my opinion. Okay. Even though it was in a rough area, because it was rented for $1,200 a month to a Section 8 tenant. And rent history looked like it was okay on it, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, we got to keep this thing. Like, this is great cash flow. Pay less than 20, and we're renting up for $1,200 a month. We'll have our money back in a year and a half, and less than that, and then it's cash flowing forever. Like, this is great. And my wife, she stuck to her guns, and she's like, no, we don't buy in rough areas. I'm not going there. You're not going there. Like, we just don't. And so now I had a house under contract that I promised the seller that I would perform on. And the seller was in a tight spot. They needed to close it out with cash fast. And then I was in a tight spot too, because my wife said, no, you can't keep that one. So I had to find a buyer fast. So I put out ads that said desperate must sell. I put them on Bandit Signs. I put them on Craigslist. And I remember one of the calls that I got, the guy said to me, I'm like, hello. And then he's like, hey, hey, I'm calling about your sign. And I'm like, oh yeah, the sign. He's like, oh man, I've been there. And I'm like, oh, and then I told him the whole thing. I'm like, yeah, actually, I picked this up under contract. The seller is in a tough spot. I am too, because my wife doesn't let me keep houses in this neighborhood. Anyways, this ad, I digress, but this ad is very powerful, because the average real estate investor, when they see this, they're like, yeah, I'm gonna snoop. Their curiosity kills them. They gotta know what's going on, so they're gonna come to you. Okay, in the body, I keep stuff super simple on Craigslist. The more like artistic you get with this stuff, the less people pay attention to it on Craigslist. So I try to keep it super simple. So fixer upper, whatever it is, tell the truth about it. Fixer upper, 3-bed, 1 bath, clean title. I can't keep it, so I need a buyer quickly that has cash. If you want to see pics, email me or call me. Okay. Price, whatever the price is, put it in there. I don't inflate. Whatever I'm putting it on my own brochure for, I'm going to put it into Craigslist for. Square footage, I'm going to write whatever the square footage is. Housing type, whatever the housing type it is, I'm going to actually fill it in. This one here is a house. Does it have laundry? Sure. Yep. All that kind of stuff. It's got an attached garage. Whatever it is, I put all that stuff here. Okay. How do they get a hold of me? Sure. You can call my wife. This is my wife's just auto-filled in here. You know what? You can call us or you can text us. I don't care. Either one. And then it's going to want the property address. Usually what I do is I won't put the full address. So I'll put like 1700, whatever I won't put the exact address because I don't want to give up the exact address. I'll put a cross street. I'll click continue. I'll click submit. It's not going to let me do much because I didn't fill in everything right here. It's going to say, hey, do you want to move this around a little bit to get the more precise location? Sure, I'll move it around a little bit. And then add images. I do put some images. How do I get the images? I took those images when I was on site in the property. I like to post like 7 to 10 images of the property to give them an idea with it. And then it's going to say, hey, do you want to publish this thing? And it's going to publish. You know what? I'll actually make this a real ad. But one thing I'm going to do different, though, is I don't want them to bother my wife. They can bother me. There. So yeah, let them call me. I'm happy. Now it's saying, hey, we sent you an email. You got to go into your email and click the yes link, whatever the link that comes to from Craigslist. You got to go in there and you got to click that and you got to say yes, because then that will let Craigslist actually publish it to the world. And then you got to save that email that they send you, because that's also your email to take down postings that you have on Craigslist. So boom, that's that simple. That's how you find buyers really fast electronically on Craigslist. Okay, thank you guys. I know that I went like 13, 14 minutes over on that, but it's important because we've got folks right now that are part of this training that are running ads. And because of that, I'll turn off the screen share. Because of that, someone's going to get a deal soon, okay? I was really blessed. A week ago, I got to interview one of our students that took the course in January. And he just closed a $15,000 deal. This is, well, it's 2 weeks ago he closed it. Last week I interviewed him. I'm going to publish that interview live for everybody soon. But he's stoked. He's got about $65,000 of pending contracts right now. What do I mean by pending contracts? Meaning he's either going to close on them or he's getting the listing referral. He's sending them out to other people and getting some kind of kickback from it. So that's huge. Like, this guy's got tons of positive momentum, tons of positive energy. I'll probably pull him on a live cast sometime soon too, so that everybody can ask some questions and whatnot. But this stuff works. If you missed the first part of the training, I also showed you, I'm going to share it again just for those that joined a little bit late, but I ran some Facebook ads. I just got here to Sarasota. I just got settled Well, I've been here for now 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. But the first 2 weeks was like boxes and furniture, and now I'm here. So I got to work. I ran Facebook ads over the weekend. I spent a little under $200. Ended up with 9 leads out of it. My leads are over here in Pipedrive, and one of the very first ones that I got, this one came Sunday, was freaking a house that's worth 1.4 million, 1.2 to 1.4, and the seller owes $700,000 on it. I'm ecstatic. And then another lead that's in here right now that I'm working is, we just saw this one. She's got equity of like 25% on this one. I'll take that. Here's this one. Equity of $84,000. I'll take that. Like, I'm ecstatic about these leads that are coming in. So whenever I see really good equity spreads, then of course I'm going to get excited like a little kid, because that's that's what we're all after in this business. We want to be able to help people, but we've also got to make a profit. So if there's equity in a deal, then it makes sense for us to go after. So here's what we've got left. I'm not going to drag you through this tonight because I don't want to go way over the time period. But I want to get those that are interested in learning about how to do bulk deals. I'm going to be doing a session on a big bulk deal that we did. Let me just share a screen with you quick. And you'll want to watch it. Here's why. It was 79 units that we did, all one-day closing, 79 units, mostly single-family houses, some duplexes. And I worked my butt off on it for like 3 months, but I'll skip to the good part of the story and why you should watch that training when I've got it out for next week. We got a wire in at the end of it for a good amount. I'm not showing you this to brag in any way, shape, or form. I'm only showing it for inspiration. Those that signed up for this course because you don't want to do like one deal at a time and said you want to start doing bigger stuff and you want to be able to move bigger numbers, that part of the training is why you'll want to watch that. Okay, so I'll publish that within a week, and you'll like it. You'll enjoy it. Okay, it won't be a super long training, but it'll tell you how you can structure these bulk deals. Okay, what else is left? A little bit of virtual wholesaling. Okay, that's only maybe a 10-minute section or so. Partners for deals, we covered part of that today, but I want to cover a little bit more. I want to cover a little bit more on virtual assistants. Rehab estimation, we've covered part of it in one of the segments, but I want to get a little bit deeper on that. Okay, we covered today how to prepare our deals for buyers. We need to cover how to fuel charities for our business. So we've got like maybe another hour or so of content that we'll need to cover together over the next week or so. But what I want to make sure that everyone gets is that they're running ads, and then you get questions answered. Okay, so I'll be in touch. You'll see more emails coming from me. You're going to see when I'm going to go live. I want to show you if I can get. I can't bring the camera on site like with the seller camera in their face, but if I either am about to walk into a house or I'm just leaving a house, I want to take you through the step-by-step of what I'm doing, talking to the sellers and getting contracts signed and all that kind of stuff. So you can see this whole thing, the whole life cycle of these deals. So next week, get ready for that. If I get any appointments this weekend, it's holiday weekend, so I don't know if I'll get people or not, but if I get any appointments this weekend, then maybe you'll even see them sooner, and I'll let you know when I'm going to go live so you can be part of those. So for now, though, go out there and get some ads running. Get some ads running. This Facebook campaign is kicking butt and taking names. So I'd like to see you over on the Home Invest community page and post results. Fire your questions there. Let us know what you're seeing so I can help you there. That's where I can help you the most. And there's other students in there that are kicking butt. The guy that just closed the $15,000 deal, his name is JT. I've known him and his wife for a long time. Great people. Like, he's always replying to people and giving good feedback. But I want to see you in there too. So get some ads running. Thank you very much for letting me go over the time together. But there's still more content to come. So and more bonus stuff that we're going to see live. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Houston. Have a good night. Oh, you know what? I'm going to check questions. But if you got to go, you got to go. I'm going to make sure I answer all the questions though too. Okay. Matt says to do it right, Include the rehab money along with the purchase price. Otherwise, you cannot borrow more than. Oh, good tip, Matt. So Matt's talking about the cash out refinance piece. If you want to be able to do a cash out refinance in under 12 months, then when you buy the property, what he's saying is your loan on the property, you should borrow the full rehab amount plus the purchase price. So then when you do the cash out refinance part, they see the higher number and you're able to truly take a loan for that. If you only take the loan on the initial purchase for, let's just say, the purchase price and not the rehab, then your cash out refinance could be limited. They might limit the amount that you get cash out. Great point, Matt. Thank you. That's awesome. Okay. Lucinda, before you leave, can you reply on how I can fund my cash offers? I need to respond to my leads and feel like I don't know what next steps to take. Oh yeah, awesome. So Lucinda, your cash offers, if you're doing this A to B to C thing, I'll give you two answers to this. Okay, if you're doing the A to B to C thing, your end buyer, they will probably have cash for you to fund these deals, like they should if they're your real cash buyer. There might even be people inside this training right now that would want to work with you when you find a deal. If you find a deal and someone's a buyer, then they probably want to connect with you. So go onto the Home Invest Community Facebook page and type in, hey guys, I got a deal. Anybody from Houston want to take a look at this thing with me? Okay, so that's what I would encourage you to do. I like working with people that I know, like, and trust, and build deeper relationships with them. If you need a resource, though, to actually fund the deal, that's called a transactional lender. We covered them in maybe session number 1 or session number 2, but I'll show you quick. These guys are really easy to find. There's hundreds of them out there. Best transaction funding. Okay, I have used this. You can see all these websites that pop up, but besttransactionfunding.com. I've used this for my proof of funds letter. Yeah, I think we covered this in session 1 because we needed to get a proof of funds letter, or we wanted to get one. If we didn't, then we'll just do it now. But this is besttransactionfunding.com. And then when you're in here, click here to get started. Look at that. All right, click here to get started. You type in everything about your property. Okay, so you got a property that you're thinking about closing on? Great. I want to close on 1582 First Street in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Okay, and the zip code is 34202. Okay, county, it's in Milwaukee County. The date that it's supposed to close, it's going to close on the 31st. And my end buyer is going to close on the 31st. Now, in Houston, you might have a 3-day holdover. Some states require that. So then I'll just do 3 days later on the 2nd, on the 3rd. Okay, who's the seller? I enter in the seller's name. It's seller. What's seller's phone number? They're 5555555. I just fill out everything on here. Okay, I won't do it all right now, but you fill it all out, and then you click submit, and then somebody from their office will call you. And they'll step in. You can see here, like, they charge a flat fee, $2,000. If it's under $115,000, they charge a flat fee of $2,000. If it is up to $1 million, 115 to $1 million, they charge 1.75% of the deal. Okay. If it's over $1 million, yes, they do those, but it's the rates vary. And then back-end processing fee up to $1 million, $495. So they charge you basically $2,500. I'd budget around $2,500 for most of your closings. If you're over $115,000, then maybe it's $3,500 or so. That's expensive. These guys are expensive. I found much cheaper transaction people, but they're usually local people. They don't have some big fancy website. You find somebody at your real estate investment club, and then they'll do these deals for $1,000 flat fee is usually what I found, because it's insane interest to have your money tied up for 1 to 3 days or 4 days at most, and it's safe, put in escrow. That's really, really good money. So I find a lot of people that will do these deals for me. But if you need to use a company like this, then here's a company right there. You know, Belinda probably also has transaction funding people, is my guess, or other people in the Rich Club. So come to the Home Invest community page, type in there anything you want, and let's see what other resources people have too. But if you need one right now, I would say this one. Go ahead, use this one. Get your proof of funds money letter from them. Right there, you just go to proof of funds, and then you click proof of funds, and you fill out this information right here, and you can get proof of funds from them if you need it to. Okay. All right. Let me answer the next question. Okay. Next one. Can you put me on your buyers list? Yeah. Matt, of course, if you dig Sarasota and you like beaches and warm weather, yeah, absolutely, I can put you on our buyers list. I'll let you know when we got a deal. I just started running Facebook ads here again, so I should have something soon. Hopefully, maybe even next week. Based on Wisconsin, I don't know how they'll compare to Houston yet, but based on Wisconsin, what I'm seeing is the price points are running much richer, a little bit higher here. But let's see what I get. Okay, next one. Lucinda says, "Awesome, Matt. Will do." Oh, you were talking to Lucinda. Okay, great. So Lucinda, you just got a buyer. I didn't get a buyer in Sarasota. You got a buyer in Texas. I get it now. I should have read I should have read in the other order, but I was reading them in reverse from when they got posted. So Lucinda, you got a buyer. Look at that. Matt, I hope you crush it. I hope you get a really good deal and you can fix and flip it. Okay. Just remember that everything to the right of the decimal point should come back to me. Everything to the right of the decimal point, come back to me. Okay. Next, Matt says you can also submit your deals to the Rich Club, who will send them out to their list. Oh, that's an awesome feature. So, wow. Yeah, great. That's a good service. Not a lot of clubs do that. That's a great service. Okay. That message was through Lucinda. I'm looking to buy in Houston, not Sarasota. Yep. Okay. I figured that out now. Now that I'm blushing and turned red, I get it now. Okay, fine. No Sarasota for you. It's not good enough for you, anyways. Just kidding. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out tonight. It's been a lot of fun. This is the end of the formal class, but I'm going to continue next week because we still have more content to cover, and then I also want to take you live on site with me. And I also want to see what questions come up in the Facebook group. So if there's something else like that people are getting stuck on, shoot a note in there, and then I'll get on there and we'll do another training together. I want to make sure that you're actually able to use this stuff and get out there and get moving. It starts with running those ads, though. Run those ads, and you'll know real quick if something's going right or wrong. You got to test a little bit of money in them, and I want to help you once you get to that spot where you're testing them, and then let's get some conversions going for you. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Have a nice night. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Bye.